Welcome back, watchers. This is tonight's watch with Mark.
Luke.
And Tony.
Every week, one of us chooses a movie. This week was Luke's choice with The Social Network, the 2010 David Fincher film, and he will give a spoiler-filled synopsis.
Spoiler alert!
We will give all of our ratings for the movie and then go into the analysis of the film before Tony teases next week's choice by giving us hints. Thank you for watching with us. And if you enjoy this episode, consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing. Luke, start with the film synopsis.
All right. Set before and during two lawsuits, The Social Network is a biographical look at a man who did very chode-like things for very chode-like reasons. It's the story of Mark Zuckerberg and the creation of Facebook. During his sophomore year at Harvard, Mark Zuckerberg is dumped by Erica Albright for being an asshole. Therefore, Mark does one of his several chode-like things and creates Face Smash, an online site where people on Harvard's network could rank and compare women using his friend Eduardo's algorithm on how to rank chess players. Alas, Face Smash crashes Harvard's network and Mark gets 6 months of academic probation. However, Face Smash catches the attention of Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss and Divya Narendra. They ask Mark if he wants to help them program a site called the Harvard Connection, a site where people at Harvard can make a page and put their interests in bio and invite friends. Mark asks his friend Eduardo for startup money because he, in quotes, has a really good idea. Eduardo agrees and Mark starts making the Facebook, which is basically the Harvard Connection just written with different code without telling Cameron, Tyler, or Divya what he is doing. Once Mark finishes building the Facebook, everybody on campus starts using it. Cameron, Tyler, and Divya find out and eventually sue him for intellectual property theft. Once Mark and Eduardo have the Facebook expand to different campuses, it catches the attention of Sean Parker, the creator of Napster. Sean, somehow, is arguably a bigger chode than Mark, so there's no reason why Mark shouldn't admire him. Sean tells Mark and Eduardo to just name the site Facebook without the, and Mark basically falls in love with the dude. Mark moves to Palo Alto for the summer to continue working on what is now Facebook, where he and Sean team up and eventually get an angel investment of $500,000. Eduardo, despite his dislike for Sean, is excited about this and signs a contract that would give him 34% ownership of the company. But, unbeknownst to him, the contract states that if more investors come in, that his shares of the company will be diluted to 0.03%. And guess what happens? Mark and Sean find new investors and Eduardo is screwed out of the company. And, as a cherry on top, his name as co-founder of Facebook is taken off of the masthead of the company. Eduardo sues Mark for $600 million as Cameron, Tyler, and Divya sue him for intellectual property theft. And Mark acts like a chode the whole time. Divya and the Winklevoss twins ended up reaching a settlement with Mark worth $65 million, and they signed a non-disclosure agreement. Eduardo received an unknown settlement, and his name as co-founder of Facebook was restored on the masthead. And Mark Zuckerberg was the youngest billionaire in the world at the time this film was made. So no, it was not a happily ever after ending.
Ugh. Ooh, good synopsis, Luke. Let's hear your rating for the movie.
Let's hear your rating for the movie.
So, I thought this movie was written very well. I thought it tied everything together nice, and I thought the dialogue was really good. And I thought the directing and acting, Andrew Garfield and Jesse Eisenberg's acting is really good, I felt. I gave it an 8.7 out of 10.
Ooh.
Ooh, wow. What is that higher than previous movies that you've rated around there, Luke, on the podcast?
That is higher than Hush. It's lower than Grand Budapest and Jojo Rabbit.
And it's the same as Soul, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh,
okay.
The same rating as Soul. My turn?
Yeah, you.
I give this movie, and I will preface this with saying my mind can be changed after this podcast. It can go up or it can go down. I give this movie a 5 out of 10 because I don't know what this movie is, who it's for, what it's trying to say, because it's not showing what actually happened in real life, and the parts where it like embellishes just doesn't make sense to me, but we'll get into it.
Okay, all right. As long as you have an open mind. This is a movie that I really like and I've seen multiple times, but I think it has issues. And the more I think about the issues, the more they kind of bug me. But they all are just kind of buggy. Like, they're not super big. So I gave this movie a 7.8 out of 10. Just under an 8, where it, like, has times where it's over an 8, and times that it's, like, a 6. So, but, like, the times that it's a 6 aren't important. So I think a 7.8, good movie, not great or perfect when you look
The
at it with critical eye.
streak continues. The streak continues. Of
We're in
Mark
a different
and
number,
Luke, of Mark and Luke being still less than 1 rating apart from each other.
Oh, by 0.1 this time. We're at 0.9.
By 0.1, which is pretty good. But the streak continues.
This is my first 7. This is the lowest out of my, like, good movie tier in this.
Okay.
But
All
it's
right.
a movie I've seen a lot, and I
Luke.
actually like a lot. But its issues, kind of like when you're looking at it with the critical eye, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Kick it off, Luke.
Okay, so it starts with Mark and Erica sitting in the restaurant, and Mark is talking about 500 things at once, and Erica's just trying to be nice to him, basically. She is his girlfriend, but he's acting like an a-hole.
Yeah, and since both these actors are introduced right here, I think Jesse Eisenberg. What do you guys think of him?
I liked his performance.
I did too.
I think
like him a lot.
this is like his role. Like, this was made for him.
I agree. I think this is one of the better performances he's ever had.
Yeah, you think about, like, Lex Luthor, and he sucks at it. But
Yeah.
this one, he's, like, perfectly cast. Rooney Mara is Erica. She's not in it very much, but this was the same year she did Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and she almost quit acting because of that
really?
movie. And it was
Really?
the same year as this, yes. So she almost quit acting this year.
I thought she was good in this
Aye,
too,
aye.
except she was not in this for very much.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
she didn't quit acting, and then the next year she did Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is her, like, most famous movie, so...
Got
Was
it.
she the main person in that?
Yes. Yeah, she's like
okay.
the main one on the cover. She is the girl with the dragon tattoo. So, yeah. Go ahead.
I do know Erica Albright was not a real person, but later when you realize that who Mark blogs about, Mark actually did blog and write all the terrible things he said about his actual ex-girlfriend, but Aaron Sorkin didn't want to embarrass her anymore,
Ouster.
so he made up it's a collective person. They do that with a lot of based on true story scripts, is they'll put like collective of people into like a character.
Sure.
Yeah. And this part, it starts with dialogue, and the dialogue is like the best part of this movie to me. I think the writing is the best part of the movie.
Me too.
And the writer of this movie is one of my favorite writers in Hollywood, Aaron Sorkin. He did Moneyball, Tony. But he's really good at writing. However, this first scene has
I was about to
biggest,
say.
you know, Luke already knows my biggest issue with David Fincher movies. So David Fincher is the director. There's whenever a couple characters are in public places in his movies, he has the background noise way too loud.
It
You
happens-
need to
I
watch
thought
this
that
movie
too.
with
I
subtitles.
also thought that too.
It's way
happens-
worse in the club later. Oh my
Yes, I
god.
was about
In
to
the
say
club,
that.
it's so bad. It's so bad. Okay, so I think Christopher Nolan sometimes has like audio mixing issues where
Yeah.
like you can't really hear the dialogue and like the background's going too much and there's like a lot of
Tenet.
And that's for like dramatic effect almost. It's like too much trying to be over dramatic almost.
Yeah,
For
but and then in this one, it's like it doesn't make any sense why you would have the background like just like people talking and like random bar noises so loud.
As far as I'm concerned, he's the only director I've seen who does it like this. And I think it's to be realistic, but we don't care about like it's too distracting. Like I'm like I turn on subtitles for this movie. I usually don't watch with them because I'm like I can't understand what they're saying, and they're talking so
Yeah.
quick in this part with background noise. It's like overwhelming.
I actually didn't have a problem understanding it. Like I understood what they were saying this time, but I will say the first time I watched this years ago, it was Mark was talking so quick and the noise was so much. I was like, what the heck?
I think that's a problem with it too, is because he has Jesse Eisenberg talking really fast, and like the conversation between them is almost like really about nothing kind of. Like, it's about, finals club and blah, but he's like saying a whole bunch of different things, and at the end, it doesn't really matter because all you need to know is they break up from it.
I think it's establishing he's a douchebag too. I mean,
yeah, I thought it was a good scene because it established his character. It also, I actually think it is important because Mark talks about how he wants to get in the final club, which becomes important later on because he's jealous of Eduardo for getting into the Phoenix, and it also mentions how Eduardo has money from betting on oil futures, and then that becomes important because Mark uses him to set up the company. So
sure,
I agree.
I think.
Go ahead.
You might want to go first.
I was just gonna say that the scene is important, but it's not important enough to make us be like to have that kind of background noise and for us to be like so invested that's like trying to decipher what they're saying because it's so loud sometimes. Like, it's not that important, but it's like kind of exposition. It's really weird. It's like we could have done with this scene perfectly fine without crazy background music, without like overwhelming the audience.
I think this is the best part of the movie for me. I really like the dialogue between them and how they talk. Yes, this first scene is the best part of the movie to me.
I like the first scene a lot.
And it establishes how he's an asshole, right? And it does it really well. But this is a problem with the characters for the rest of the movie to me. Is because everyone in this movie is kind of an asshole. And they don't have a lot of depth to their character. And they're not relatable. It's like, I'm supposed to find some relatability in these like incredibly rich white Harvard students, and it's like impossible to like feel what they're feeling, right? But then they don't have any character depth. Mark Zuckerberg is just an asshole the entire movie. Yeah. These other characters are just assholes the entire movie. It's like no character development between any of them at all.
I actually, to me, I didn't think you were supposed to relate to any of them. I thought that was the point.
I mean, like, there's like no character relatability, right? Because that's like the point of the movie. But then there's no character depth at all. You just have these bland, one-dimensional characters. So what are you supposed to like view out of this movie from the actors in it?
Well, I think that like Eduardo is kind of the main protagonist. He's just almost not in it enough to be the main protagonist. It's like where we see the Winklevoss twins almost more than Eduardo, and I don't even like them. Like, I know they're getting screwed, but I don't like them nearly as much as like I relate to Eduardo, who I don't even relate to that much anyway. But he's not even like in it enough. It's like just about Mark and being the antagonist.
And my problem too, right, is so it's Mark Zuckerberg. He's just an asshole. He makes his company. He's already rich. He became richer. And then Eduardo, he was already rich, and then he invested in this company, and then he gets kicked out. And you're like, oh, I'm supposed to feel bad for him. But in real life, he actually wasn't doing much for the company when he got kicked out. So then you know that, oh, he got kicked out, but he gets this settlement anyways, and then he becomes like this really rich investor who like renounced his U.S. citizenship so he doesn't have to pay taxes. And then you're like, oh, the Winklevoss twins. All they care about is rowing, and then they got screwed over. And then they're like one tone for the rest of the movie is angry.
That also with the Winklevoss twins, they get totally like ousted this other guy that they were working with, and it was weird. Even in the court hearing, that the guy that they worked with, like in the court hearing, they're asking the twins what their name was and how to spell it, and then they just cut before they go to that guy. I'm like, why is that guy just screwed out of it? Are you just like that impressed with Armie Hammer playing both characters? Like, I don't get it.
I one of my nitpicks is with the credits at the end. It says the Winklevoss twins got $65 million, but Divya also got that. I don't know why they didn't put his name there.
They totally like didn't care about him at all.
And he's like supposed to be like the driving catalyst that makes them angry about it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
and then let me ask you this. There is only one woman character in this entire movie with an ounce of depth, and it's Rooney Mara, and she's barely in it.
I'm more okay with it in this movie than other ones because it was about a bunch of asshole dudes in real life. Like, it's real characters.
But did you know this? Mark Zuckerberg dated Priscilla Chan from 2003 right after Face Smash and married her in 2012, and they're still together. So during this entire time, he actually had a girlfriend that he eventually married, and she's just completely cut from the movie. And what is the point of that?
I think,
except to paint him as like some misogynist, and it's like so strange to like cut that part of the movie and then try to tell the story in like a different way than everything happened.
To me, I feel like they're just trying to like make him seem like as bad as they can, and not be like, oh, he has this girlfriend and everything. What I think was he probably had an incident with someone like the Erica character before any of this happened, and they added it to this part of the movie to show what he's been like in the past, even though it wasn't accurate. Like, it wasn't factually accurate for the time period.
Like, the whole, like, misogynist tone of the movie continues on when Face Smash is only about girls. But the Face Smash in real life was for both males and females.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no point in leaving out the males in that,
he's an
except
asshole.
for, like, trying to paint him as more of a misogynist asshole. But it doesn't make sense, because even if you're trying to paint him as like a more misogynist asshole, there's just scenes in the movie that they add of like, oh, random girls doing like, oh, sexy girls at a party, sexy girls playing strip poker, oh, they're doing cocaine, oh, there's these strippers here, oh, they're at a club. It's like those aren't directly related to Mark Zuckerberg, yet they're still like displaying women this way.
I get what you're saying, because it's also like, we know he's an asshole, and they're portraying he's an asshole anyway. You don't have to add this extra stuff.
Yeah, like, it's like so much extra stuff though, because like I guess we'll get into it later, but it like ties it in. So what's his name? The Parker guy, Justin Timberlake, Sean Parker. Sean Parker just had a one-night stand with some random girl, and this is where he learns about the Facebook. Well, reality check, he actually learned about the Facebook from his roommate's girlfriend. So you're adding this one-night stand, like, you're making up this one-night stand story, and then you're like, oh, here's a butt shot of her in her underwear. Oh, she's going in the shower. Oh, we're going to actually bring her back out in just a towel, and then we're going to have her go back in and take off the towel. It's like, what is the point of that? What is the point of trying to, like, do all this for this movie?
You know who that actress was, right?
I forget her name, but I know she's someone.
She's like 50 Shades of Grey, Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
And this was like one of her first big movies. That's totally not anything to do with your point. I just wanted to point that out. I agree. I think it was just trying to stamp in the fact that they're assholes. And they decided to do it this way, even if that wasn't true. Like, the events weren't true. They were just painting them how, like, they were assholes. They were just assholes in different ways that would have been maybe harder to show in a movie.
I think the problem is they really want to paint them as misogynistic assholes, right? But then the movie itself also adds misogyny to it. So it's kind of like, so you're painting these guys as misogynists, but you're doing it yourself. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I get that.
And something as, like, truthful as you can find out about Face Smash, both being about guys and girls, it's like, okay, does making it only about girls really, like, you really want to paint him as a misogynist that much? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I will add this about the whole situation with Jesse Eisenberg and Rooney Mara is I like that relationship, and I wish they gave it more depth. Like, you are introduced to Mark Zuckerberg, and he's a complete asshole, and you're kind of like, well, why would she date this guy in the first place? I want some story behind it that explains it, right?
Yeah.
And I really like her quote where she's like, girls don't like you because you're an asshole, not because you're a nerd.
Yes.
And
I like that, yeah.
So it's like, I really like that line and kind of the position behind it, but I wish there was more context behind the relationship, because like, you're just wondering the entire time, why was she ever with this guy in the first place?
So was he nice at one point and they didn't show that? Like, did he change into this guy, or was she attracted to this type of person before? Like,
yes.
We don't know anything.
So it's also like, so that line comes back later, right? He's like, oh, girls don't like you because you're an asshole, not because you're a nerd. But like later on, when Priscilla Chan met Mark Zuckerberg, he was like wearing some nerdy coding glasses or something, like some glasses that were like a reference to coding. And it's like, oh, so like that, like his nerdy aspect actually attracted some person. So it's like, Well, it's like kind of weird to add that line and knowing how like his relationship with at least Priscilla Chan goes on for the rest of his life.
Yeah, well, and this is based off the book that they said it in the beginning titles. And I think with a movie like this, trying to fit everything in there, they just compiled a bunch of stuff and were like, okay, we're gonna make this happen to like exemplify this other point that we're not actually gonna show. So like a bunch of fake stuff happens to try to get the same kind of point across, I think.
That is where
But that happens in a lot of movies. Like if you research any true story movie, it's probably that. So.
Yeah, that's like my problem though with I don't know what this movie is trying to show and what it really is and who it's really for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think part of it was like the recognition of who didn't get it, but they don't really make like the Winklevoss twins very likable and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like even the people who deserved recognition never really got it.
Yeah.
They don't make you like those characters that much. So I know it sounds like I'm like kind of hating on the movie, but this is all kind of nitpicks because I actually think as a story perspective, it's written really, really well. And I think the story is told really well. The facts behind it, not always there. And of course other stuff happens. But in this first scene that we're still on, there's a really like the back and forth is really good. The dialogue between them is very good, like you guys were saying. I just wish, better with subtitles. But there's like the line where he says, I just meant that because you go to BU. She says, I have to study. You don't have to study. Why do you keep saying that? Because you go to BU. I just wrote, fucking yikes, bro. That's horrible. What a douchebag.
Good dialogue.
But that's
Good
kind of
dialogue,
like
right?
how I
Good
feel
dialogue.
like he would actually make people feel. Maybe not the like misogyny that this movie always portrays, but apparently he was actually like that, where he's just a douche to people.
Yeah.
So I like that dialogue.
I actually think the dialogue that happens here is the best dialogue in the entire movie. Surprise, surprise.
I think this has really good dialogue, and really good scenes with dialogue. And we'll get into this later, but I think it cuts too much between the court cases.
I think
too
there's
much happening for me.
Some lines of dialogue that really fall flat for me, but we'll get to it later.
Okay.
on.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So he walks back to his dorm room, and this is when the score starts, and I think the score of this movie is really good. It's by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who did Soul.
Trent Reznor, who did Soul.
Yeah.
It sounds like Soul to me.
Exactly
So-
like Soul.
This is the movie that kind of kickstarted their career, I think.
I have an opinion that you might not love.
That's okay.
I really like the Trent Reznor music in certain scenes, but there's no reason to have like electronic techno music during regular ass scenes. I like it when they're
I
like
agree.
coding and making Facebook,
Okay.
but it's overused to where it's like you don't need that during this dialogue scene. It's weird. It's like weirdly placed
There's
sometimes. Like,
Some weird music choices too. Like when there's the rowing race and they play that like
I don't even talk to me about the rowing race yet. I have very
Okay.
strong
That
opinions.
was a
Okay.
nitpick of mine. About the rowing race. That was a nitpick of
Terrible.
mine,
That
too.
scene is terrible. Yeah, it's good music for certain scenes, but he does it too much. It's almost like one note. Like, yeah, it keeps it uniform throughout the movie, but it doesn't need to be during dialogue scenes. All this like techno
see.
type of music. That's my only. It was a nitpick with it because it's really good in certain scenes.
I
agree.
liked it, I think, throughout the whole movie, but I don't like the rowing scene, so I guess we agree on that.
Yikes.
He gets back to his dorm room, and he starts drinking, and he starts blogging about Erica, which I read that Aaron Sorkin used, like, exact words that he used to talk about his ex-girlfriend, who is not Erica, but a different person. He used exact like wording that he used and the same code. Like when Mark is mentioning code, it's like the exact same.
So he has posted stuff like this with like about her boob size and stuff like that. So he has been like misogynistic in the past, and so I think this
Yeah.
was like solidifying that. Even if it's during the time period when he made Facebook, he was actually changed a little bit. It was just trying to like
Yeah.
paint the picture of who he used to be, because this movie we only get this certain like time period.
and then he makes Face Smash. And so I guess aside from where it shows like the party and all
The
the
horrible
girls,
like college tropes, and there's all these girls, and there's girls making out with girls, there's girls stripping on the pool table, there's girl playing strip poker, and it's like, okay. Okay.
I'll give it a little bit more credit, the fact that it came out in 2010. If it came out in 2020, I'm not saying the fact that what they're showing is good, but it being like a trope and a cliche, I don't hold it against it because this movie was 11 years ago.
Sure.
But it is very cliche watching it now because that's in every movie ever.
It honestly looks dumb as hell to watch that scene. To be
Watch
honest.
it now. Maybe back in
Yes.
2010 it would have been better. I don't like that they're cutting between
Ooh,
them.
I'll have to
It's
preface.
very strange.
Yeah, I don't like the cutting it out. I have to preface. This is the first time I've watched this movie in 2021.
I've seen this movie 4 times? 3 times? I think this
think
was my
I've
4th
seen
time watching it.
I think this is my third.
I really like watching this movie. I just think it has issues. You know what I mean? Like,
I think by the end of this, I think my rating of it will go down.
don't let us sway you. The
How?
peer
Well,
pressure getting
no.
to
This
you.
Tony said that. No, I think he'll probably sway me, but I do think it's a good film. Even though with the problems, I still think it is a good film.
There
But
are
anyway.
moments that are incredible in this movie, and there are also just rowing scenes.
I'll
Let's
have
say
to.
that.
We'll have to get to it so I can know what scenes you're talking about. These incredible scenes that I'm missing out on.
Incredible as in interesting. I think this movie should have had 15 more minutes. To be honest.
I actually
oh
thought it
God,
should be a
oh
bit longer.
God.
I know Tony
Oh,
disagrees.
Oh,
Tony,
God.
I know for the like you might think it's boring and everything, but I think for the story standpoint, it could have benefited from 15 more minutes, like with it actually being told as like this story. I
I
think it
can't
should have been
deal
a
with
little longer.
15 more minutes
And
of
I think-
one-dimensional character.
I think that's why they cut it down, but it seems like certain scenes are cut down. Like, it seems like the screenplay was a lot longer, and a lot of scenes are cut short or cut really quick. It's weird to me. Like, I feel like the story could have, especially after, like, he moves out to California, I feel like we could have used, like, 10 more minutes out there, to be honest. Before, because it kind of, they go out there, and then I feel like it's kind of quick for them to, like, rise to fame, and then immediately, like, I wish they would have showed that a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And okay, I guess we'll get to it in California.
Yeah, sorry, we're jumping everywhere.
Okay, never mind. I'll get to it later.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
So anyway,
he hacks the mainframe trying to make Face Smash.
yes, and he successfully accomplishes hacking the mainframe. But Eduardo sees his blog that he broke up with Erica, and he comes over, and then they use his algorithm for ranking chess players to do the Face Smash thing. So we're introduced to Eduardo in this scene, which Andrew Garfield played, and I really liked Andrew Garfield's performance. I don't know how you guys felt.
Yeah, I think
I
he was good in
like
this.
him. There's this. I actually don't mind him as Peter Parker either in his Spider-Man movies. There are some scenes, and they're very like sparingly, but since he's doing an accent, sometimes it sounds worse than other scenes when he's acting. It's really weird. It seems like he's trying too hard with an accent, like his American accent. Sometimes
I see.
Like, sometimes when he's talking, you can tell he's trying to keep the... I don't know how to explain it. It's something I noticed in, like, the Spider-Man ones, too. I think he does good in it. It's just some scenes are, like, a little bit weird with it.
I actually I forgot he was British.
Yeah. It's weird. I think it's, like, when he starts getting angry and stuff, it almost seems like he's trying to hide the fact that he's covering it. It's weird. It's not a big deal. I noticed it a couple times in this one.
I didn't notice it at all in this movie, but it could be there. Like, if I probably rewatched it and paid attention to it more, I'd probably notice it.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes. Other than that, I really liked his performance. I thought they had good dialogue between each other, too.
So then, are we good about the Face Smash montage, or is there?
Well, what
more
about
things?
the okay face smash montage? Here we get like a montage of people like, oh hey, this is a face smash. It's like a bunch of dudes, and they're looking, oh yeah, we could rank girls, and then they keep intercutting this with like scenes from the party, and it's like just like all these like stupid party scenes again and again and again, and they're like, and then it's scenes of these guys and are like, oh yeah, we're gonna rate these girls, and then there's like scenes of the girls like, oh, that's my roommate, and then it's like, oh, what, fuck this website. There's like girls and like, fuck this website, this is pathetic. And it's like, well, like, not what actually happened, because the girls would also be able to rate the guys there.
So girls were also participating in it. It wasn't just targeting girls in real life.
Yeah, so it's like, and it also adds...
It's not good either way, but they're making it a one-gender thing.
They're making it a one-gender thing when you didn't really have to. And I don't really understand the motivation behind it. I guess it's to make Mark Zuckerberg look like more of a misogynist and more of an asshole. But I don't really know what it adds to the overall story of what they're trying to tell. Because Mark Zuckerberg starts as an asshole and he ends as an asshole. There's no reconciliation in between it. He doesn't look back at all the things he's done and like, man, I'm an asshole, I'm going to change. He just stays an asshole the entire time.
There are a couple moments at the end where it almost seems like he's a little bit remorseful, but I didn't like those scenes because it was trying to almost make him seem like... It's a weird character to do a whole movie on. I think they needed a whole, like, Eduardo, even if not in real life, they needed to make him solidified as the protagonist, and is in it a lot to make this movie have, like, a clear-cut antagonist-protagonist type of relationship. And
in 2010, I guess you don't really know... I mean, you have some idea of who Mark Zuckerberg, the actual human, is, but you don't, like, know what, like, has been going on with him recently. But, like, Mark Zuckerberg now, you know him, and he's an asshole, and he's, like, evil, and he sells your data, and he's targeting ads to you, and he's, like, doing all this random shit that in this movie he's, like, going so far to, like, push back on, and it's just weird knowing, like, the context of Mark Zuckerberg that we have now in 2021, and watching this movie about him, about how he was before, or how he quote unquote was before.
Yeah, I feel like the Sean Parker influence was a little bit overstated in this, where I would have rather him be more of an asshole than Sean Parker. That being said, I thought Justin Timberlake actually acted well. It's just
I think he did too. I think his character, Sean Parker's character, might be the most one-dimensional in this entire movie, and they try to paint him as like the soul. He's the evil guy. He's the reason. It's him.
But really,
he's influenced Mark Zuckerberg so much. He's the bad guy. That's why. And it's like, come on, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'd rather have a little bit more of Mark doing stuff. He can be with Sean Parker, but some of the ideas need to be his too.
Is there like no complexity? Why is there no complexity between like these interaction and these characters? Like Sean Parker is the only like he's like the influencer, right? Like give Mark Zuckerberg some ideas, because he's the one who ultimately makes the decision to like cut Eduardo out. Like it was greed that influenced Mark Zuckerberg. So like just having Sean Parker as like the only like they portray him as like the only influence to why like he even went down this path is so silly. Like you can't flesh out Mark Zuckerberg to be a more complex character and like have his own thoughts about it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that, but not to the extent you like. I liked it, but I understand your point completely.
Yeah, I guess I feel the same. Where Sean seemed to be the driving force, so I wish they would have showed more about Mark's choices. But I didn't feel like Sean influenced everything he did.
I don't think that either, but I think just in real life, humans are complex, and there's complex emotions and thoughts that go behind everything, and the movie always stays in a certain lane. Like, it's afraid to, like, complicate the road. It wants that one-lane highway, and it's, like, doesn't ever complicate it.
I'll agree with that.
So after this, I think this is when they first get introduced that he's in lawsuits. I think this is when they start cutting back and forth between the two different lawsuits and in the past.
Yes, it is.
Well, before that, we get the scene where Erica's roommate shows Erica that Mark Zuckerberg blogged about her, and then this guy runs up to the door with a bra, and then he says, "Hey, Erica, is this your bra? I got it from a tranny."
Yikes.
I didn't think it made it a bad scene because I thought it was supposed to show that the guy was an asshole. But
do people actually act like that though? I don't know a single person who would actually act like that.
Yeah,
like even the biggest assholes that we have met in high school, Tony. I don't think anyone would ever do that. Like
ever act like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
But they're also
sense.
rich white Harvard kids who are like super entitled
That's
and
true.
privileged.
That's true. Maybe the fraternity people that we don't hang out with might do that. I don't know.
I think it's like it shows this guy's like an asshole, but it just like the joke of it just falls flat. It's like,
Yeah, I don't. Jokes about that are not good. You know, like even if it's trying to show an asshole, it doesn't work. But then when they're cutting back to the lawyers, like what Luke was talking about, I think this works to keep the pacing keep the pacing good throughout the movie. But then sometimes falls flat and actually works against it when it happens later in the movie, when I just want to see what's happening there. Like, I get it, and I like it in the beginning. But then once it happens later in the movie, I'm like, I get it. They're suing them. You could just wait till the end of the movie and show all of this to me. Where I'm like, I just want to see the creation, like what's happening with the characters. Like, it's too much later for me.
I like it at the beginning because they don't explain why he's in these two different legal battles, right? They don't really explain it, and then it unravels the story, and then you get to know when. It's when you already know why they're suing him, and they keep going back to these legal battles where it's like, okay, I get it, we understand it now, like, let's just keep moving this on. And then I think that's when, like, the movie drags.
I didn't have a problem with it, actually, even at the end with the cutting between the lawsuits. But I get what you're saying. I didn't have a problem, but I understand. I don't know. I think was Aaron Sorkin actually a lawyer? I think
he might have been. He might have been. Well, that's also.
I might be making that up. I don't know.
It's one of those things too. Somewhere. It might have worked better in the screenplay than it actually translated, or something like that. Because it seemed like they're trying to keep it entertaining throughout the 2 hours. But I was invested into the characters, and it almost took me out more later in the movie when they kept cutting. Once I already knew what happened, like, I get it, they're suing him. I don't really care. And especially cutting between two different lawsuits, I'm like, I don't really care. Like, later in the movie. Just tell me what happens at the end. Because they never even resolve the court cases, like, in the lawsuits. At the end. So why keep cutting to it as much as they do? It works sometimes for pacing, but it sometimes is like, I don't get it.
Maybe if there was some resolution to it at the end instead of words popping up on the screen, but we'll get to that.
They should have just, like, even if it was unrealistic, they should have settled in the scenes. Like, even if that doesn't happen in real life. Yeah,
you're taking all these, like, you're taking all these, what is it called, liberties with how you're showing the story, and you can't do that.
Is this when they cut to the twins?
Correct.
Yes. It's the twins rowing. But not the rowing scene.
Not the rowing scene.
but them rowing.
Yes.
How do you guys feel about Armie Hammer playing both characters? I have
I'll say this is that he plays both characters, so it's hard to differentiate between both characters, and he plays both characters the exact same way, and they are written the exact same way. It's basically written as if they were one person split into two.
I was going to say, one of my nitpicks is they seem to make too many lines of dialogue explaining that, that they are twins.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm like, dude, they look at the exact same. They're the same person.
My problem is they looked the exact same, and at some point, I didn't care about differentiating them two, because the movie also makes no effort to differentiate the two.
No, I don't know who says what at the end. I don't know who was against it and who started it.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. There's, like, no effort to differentiate these two, and you're using the same actor for the same, like, for two people, and it's like, okay, I don't know if that's this twin or this twin, and I don't really care. The movie doesn't really care.
I also just don't get the point of, like, Armie Hammer's a good actor, but what's the point of this? Just hire Zach and Cody, honestly.
Yeah.
Zach and Cody would be ripped enough for the row crew. I'd rather see
them rowing.
Oh, man, yeah. I'd rather see them and just pretend like they're really good at rowing and, like, they're buff and everything. And
that'd be funny.
Keep the dialogue about them being, like, super tall.
Ooh, or Tia and Tamara. I'd love that. As twins.
Any real twins I would have taken. Any real fraternal twins I would have taken. But having Armie Hammer as both characters is extremely distracting to me. Like, I'm like, why put in so much effort? And that's not like a writing thing. That's like a directing type of thing. And it's like, why put in all the effort of that editing for what? When you could just hire real twins. Like, lesser known actors, but then give them like a big break. I don't know.
Look, the acting that he had to do in this movie was not a lot either. So you could have hired any twins off the street.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like his performance was bad. I just don't think he had a lot to work with.
I agree. I wish they would have made them more of protagonists. Same thing as Eduardo. Because they made them kind of annoying. Rich white boys.
Rich white guys. And honestly, give me like 4 emotions that those guys felt the entire time.
Angry.
It was just angry.
It was literally just angry. It's like, come on.
Angry and upset. I'll give you 2.
Ooh, okay, I like that. I'll take 2 from those people.
So it cuts between the lawsuits, and then it cuts to the administrative board hearing about Mark and Face Smash at Harvard. And then this is when Mark says that he deserves recognition about finding the gaping holes in their network and whatnot. This is also, he wears flip-flops and wardrobe, which Mark Zuckerberg said that there's many things that aren't true in this movie, but the wardrobe is the closest thing they got to being right. So
he just straight up like, and that's being douchey.
Yeah,
and he admits
I know.
that he's being douchey there. So
I saw that interview, which also Mark Zuckerberg does not talk like the way Jesse Eisenberg does in this
Not
movie.
at all. Not at
no,
all.
he kind of gives a little bit of the resemblance if you just think about a picture of Zuckerberg. I still think Jesse Eisenberg plays it super well.
Yeah, I thought he
Jesse
played
Eisenberg
it well.
to me gives the same feel of like a twinky white guy, but like
That's exactly what
I think
it is.
Jesse Eisenberg has like a more defined face than Mark Zuckerberg does.
Yeah, I still felt like with the dialogue, he was perfect for this role, and I think he's like Jesse Eisenberg is good in this, and he's good in like Zombieland. I could do without him in Now You See Me. He's fine in that, and then don't even get started on Lex Luthor. So it's like weird where this is like, ooh, Jesse Eisenberg's a good actor, but what else could he do? Like, you see what I mean? Like,
That makes sense.
For sure.
yeah.
I guess, sadly, that might be the same with Andrew Garfield, because he always plays the guy that cries in every movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good for this role, and Hacksaw Ridge especially. But
Well, because he's crying in that.
'cause he's
and
crying.
all the time. Yeah,
Do you kind of get what I'm saying when these characters seem one-dimensional?
I think that Mark and Eduardo aren't one-dimensional, but I do think that the twins are, especially.
I would like to see some. When we get to it, I want you to explain the complexity between these characters.
Oh, gosh.
yeah. If you're gonna throw out an accusation like that, Luke.
Like once we get to a scene where like, wow, this shows this character is really complex. Actually, this next scene is what I thought would like show some complexity behind this character is when they're in class and a girl passes a note to him, and on the note it says "you dick," and then he gets up and leaves. And
Weird
like,
note,
he
weird
kind of seems sad. Like, oh, is he going to change from this? No, he does not change from this.
Then he's a dick to the professor right after. It's like exemplifying the
Spoilers.
fact that he is a dick.
Spoilers alert: this scene does nothing to his character.
Also, you dick on a piece of paper is weird. That is weird. You could just say dick, but you dick. That's
True.
so weird.
Or
note.
you're a dick.
Yeah, or just anything. Like, fuck you. Fuck you would have been better to me.
So much better.
Something like that instead of you dick. I would have just giggled. It's kind of silly message.
That's true.
It also just doesn't lead to any like character development in him at all. But yeah,
I guess maybe I saw it as, so he's an asshole to people, but it's weird because I think he cares what they think about him sometimes.
Oh, 1,000%.
So that's
He's a
kind
narcissist.
of what I
he cares
got.
about what other people think of him, but doesn't actually care for other people.
yeah, I think that's like
So that's
the
why I
tone
thought he
throughout
was
the entire
complex.
movie, though. That's like the tone throughout the movie, though. Like he's been the same this entire movie. It's like, okay, he's in like being an asshole and a narcissist. It's not like antonyms. Like those two things exist in people, and they probably exist in a lot of people. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
narcissists are assholes.
Yes. There is one moment where I think that it makes it like complex with Mark, which was when Eduardo gets fucked out of the company and he looks like he's almost about to cry, right? Like he's like looks really upset. But it's one of those things where it's like I want them to either go more with that to show that he is actually like remorseful, or not at all because realistically he probably didn't care. So it's like go one or the other, but it kind of like shows that he's upset, and then it's like, fuck it, I'm just whatever again. Like
It's also
go
like,
one way.
I feel like if he was more resourceful and he was like, okay, you win this legal battle, I'll settle on this unknown amount. But then this entire time, he's fighting him for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he's that upset, he could just be like, oh, never mind, I don't want to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, here, you can have more shares. So don't show him almost like looking like he's gonna cry. But I still think that's a way that they're trying to make him more complex. It's weird. It's weird.
Sure.
Okay, after he leaves the class, that's when the twins and Divya talk to him about the Harvard connection.
Correct.
And this is when he learns about basically Facebook, how to make Facebook. All right. Anything with this scene? I will say in this scene, Mark says, you would do that for me, when they mention that if he makes the Harvard connection, it would rehabilitate his image. And that's the same thing that Erica said to him when she broke up with him. In that
he's
scene.
being like sarcastic about it. Like you would do that, which made him pit against them immediately. That's like what pitted him against them. Which is like douchey. Like they weren't trying to be. Well, they were kind of douchey, but it's just weird. Everyone kind of sucks. So it's kind of hard to know. Like, oh, the Winklevoss twins are getting fucked out of their stuff, but I also don't care about them.
That's also a problem that lies with it, right? It's like, wow, they get fucked out of this idea, and it's like, but I really don't care about them anyways. They're these rich white Harvard kids
who go to be in the Olympics and get rich anyway. So it's kind of like who
they're already rich anyway.
Everyone involved in this story was already rich before this happened, and they all became richer after this happened.
Especially like Eduardo, who's the protagonist. You're like, oh, he got fucked out of the company, but really, he was rich anyway from family and is still
he was
rich.
Rich anyway, and then he's still rich after this incident. He becomes richer in real life,
and he's more of a douche in real life.
And then he leaves America, so he doesn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, that's like he's more of a douche in real life than this movie portrays. But they're trying to make someone like against him and someone to root for. So you root for Andrew Garfield, but the real Eduardo sucks. So it's kind of weird.
That's why this movie takes so many liberties with how they want to like bend the truth and stuff that like you might as well just go all the way. Fuck it, do something, right?
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
When I first watched it, I guess I thought I was okay with the characters, how they were, because it was based on a true story. But then I guess looking up all the stuff that really didn't happen kind of makes it worse. So like Eduardo really wasn't like that. So it kind of just makes it worse looking back on it, because when you originally watch it,
you're giving it like leeway because it's a real story, but really it's not.
Right.
I think that's the problem, right? You give it leeway because like it's based on a true story, but it takes so many liberties that you just almost have to like cut that part out of your mind. But it's like impossible to cut it out of your mind because you like know what Facebook is and you like know who Mark Zuckerberg is.
I will still give it this. I still really enjoyed watching this movie. Like, I know you didn't think so, Tony, but I think it flies by the way it's made. With, like, a lot of... So I think the dialogue is written really well. Of course, they took a lot of liberties with the story, but I think it's entertaining. And that's, like, a big thing of why I liked it. It's an entertaining movie, even if it's, like, unrealistic and fake.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't know to the extent of how fake it was, and so it kind of ruins it for me more. I think that the pacing of this movie is really good, and the dialogue, but I had thought previously that more stuff was happened the
realistic
way it showed,
so
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I guess, when I looked at interviews with Mark Zuckerberg after it, I was like, oh, he does not talk like the way... Jesse Eisenberg does. Even though I really like his
Doesn't
performance, it just
super
kind of
act the same either.
he doesn't talk really that fast. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean,
might
I
be a
think
product of
everyone
the
has
dialogue.
seen. I think everyone's seen Mark Zuckerberg's like court hearing that happened like a few years ago, where he's like a robot and he's like talks real slow and he has like these super bugged out eyes, and like every time he drinks water, it's like bzz, 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 bzz. And it's like Jesse Eisenberg is far from that.
I want to throw this in there that I've seen have you guys seen the movie Steve Jobs? Not Jobs, but like Steve Jobs.
No, I have
Okay,
not.
that is written by the same person, and I don't think it was directed very well. And so, like, with the same type of dialogue style, it made it a pretty boring movie. Like, it had good dialogue, but it was like one of those kind of draggy ones. So, since I've seen that, watching this one, I think it's like entertaining with how they do it, and I think it helps me enjoy it a little bit more.
I know you guys didn't like it, cutting back to the different lawsuits, but I think that's why I did. It helped keep me more interested in it when it was talking a lot about the company.
I think it adds a lot at the beginning of the movie when you're not sure why he's in this and what's going on. It's like mysterious, and like it like brings you in and you want to learn more about it. And then later on in the movie, when like you kind of already know everything that's going on and they still keep going to it, it's like, okay, I get it already. So I think it works really well in the beginning, and then it overstays its welcome near the end.
That's how I felt. I agree with that. But anyway, so Eduardo informs Mark that he got into the second cut for the Phoenix. He says some douchey thing that he should be like proud of that, even if he doesn't make it.
Ooh, I want to get into that. It's Caribbean night at the party or whatever, and Andrew Garfield's Asian fetish in this movie. Adding another degrading quality to the movie, right? He says, it's not that guys like me are generally attracted to Asian girls. It's that Asian girls are generally attracted to guys like me. So
Rude.
this adds like an asshole part to his character, where you're like, this entire movie you're try to feel bad for him. It's like, but he's an asshole. And even in this movie, you've made him seem like an asshole. And it's like, and then he says like, I don't think it's complicated. They're hot, they're smart, they're not Jewish, and they can't dance. So here's Andrew Garfield generalizing an ethnicity of people.
He's being racist.
And then
Yeah.
but he before that he says it's not that guys like me are generally attracted to Asian girls, it's that Asian girls are generally attracted to me. And then he lists qualities that he likes in Asian girls, meaning he's attracted to Asian
yeah,
girls.
he can be attracted to like Asian girls. You can be attracted to whoever you want. But the fact that he's saying, one, he says that they're attracted to him, and then he generalizes them saying they're this, this, this. You can't.
And that's
do
why
that.
I like them, and that's why I like them.
Yeah, but and you're also generalizing him. That's being racist.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's like,
man,
what?
all these women just love me. But I like this specific group of women because they have this quality, this quality, this quality, this quality.
Yeah.
And then the movie doesn't do this favor when Brenda Song is his love interest, and
I thought she was
she's the
fine.
one that initiates it. No, but I'm saying like, so he's a douchebag who likes Asian girls, but then and then he says, "Oh, Asian girls love me," and then later on in the movie, you have an Asian girl go for him,
And then
like he
be
doesn't
crazy,
go for her,
and then be crazy later.
yes,
yeah.
and then be crazy later.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
like another.
Okay. I
part
thought
of
you were
this
saying you
that's-
didn't like her performance. I liked her performance actually.
No, her performance is good, but I'm saying like, you already say one thing, you already generalize Asian girls, and then you also generalize that they like Jewish guys, and then later on in the movie, you have an Asian girl go for this Jewish guy.
Yep, you're right. That's stuff I didn't think about.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
You're correct. Because
Like he's not going for her. He's not. She's coming to him.
That's true. Also, that scene that they talk, they're whispering way too far away from each other to hear each other.
Most definitely.
That was
Yeah.
weird.
The
That was a
whispering
weird
was
choice.
louder.
That was a very weird choice.
There's also this scene where Mark Zuckerberg walks into the party at Caribbean night, and Andrew Garfield dances towards him. I just gotta say, Tobey Maguire does it better.
Ooh, nice.
Not wrong. Not wrong.
True. So Mark asks for more money out of him, right? Once they leave the party, he says.
I think this is the first time he asks for money. Isn't
Oh,
it?
okay.
This
I'm
is
sorry.
the first time he asked for
sorry.
$1,000 to start up his idea.
Okay, Tony. Say I came to you and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I need $1,000 to start this podcast, even if you are rich." Would you just give it to me?
Well, if I'm okay, I think this is where you're missing out. He's
See,
that rich.
No,
He's
my
that
point. My
rich.
point is, you wouldn't unless you're rich enough. If you're rich enough, why do you care so much about getting money from Facebook? That like it's weird. You know what I mean? If he's just willing to give him $1,000, it's like nothing to him. Then this whole point of him not getting his money for Facebook doesn't matter as much.
Okay, so this is where this entire movie is just pretty much all about greed from every single party. I think Eduardo is a millionaire, and $1,000 is nothing to him. But from this whole Facebook legal battle, he wants to be a billionaire.
So
like, we're talking about high levels of greed from every single party.
Yeah. So Eduardo wasn't a millionaire, but he did have a lot of money because it said he made $300,000.
I mean, he made $300,000 in a summer, and that's like true. So if I had $300
You know what I would
and
do
you
to
asked
have
for
$300,000 with like
Exactly.
You know what I would do just to earn that over multiple years and not over one summer?
Exactly. It's very yeah.
Well, I think if you put it
just-
in this context, if I had $300 and you asked for one, and then you made $1 million from that $1, I would want 300 million of that.
Sure. That's fair.
It's weird because everybody has money anyway, even though they're trying to sue Mark for money. Yeah.
It'd be a lot more. It wouldn't be realistic, but it'd be a lot more interesting if it was like the Bill Gates starting in his garage type of treatment, where like say someone got fucked out of it, but they were poor as fuck before, and then they get fucked out of it, and they're still poor as fuck, and they can't do anything.
Right. And I was giving it leeway before because I thought this is what actually happened. Like I thought this is where the testimonies were like during the lawsuits, but apparently many liberties were taken.
I think your problem has to do more with how they don't show the greed behind what's going on. Like, they don't explain it thoroughly enough in this movie. Like, you know that these guys are rich, but you know that they want to be incredibly rich from this whole Facebook dilemma, but you never, like, it's never really shown, like, how greed is, like, involved in it, right? It's like Eduardo's, like,
there,
from Eduardo's like point of view, it's just like, I'm just trying to earn my fair share, guys. But it's not really, guys, I really want $700 million.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. A friend goes up to Mark later, and when he's like sleeping, and he's like, hey, is someone in your class single or whatever, or is she sleeping around, or is she seeing anybody? And he just that's where he comes up with the relationship feature.
Yes. Before that is the montage of Mark actually creating the Facebook.
Correct. I thought this part was boring.
I thought it was made well. I thought it was written well, and I thought the score during it was good.
I thought the score worked perfectly for this scene. This was one of the scenes I thought it worked perfectly.
I agree. The score was good.
They were doing the same thing that Mr. Robot does, but 10 times worse. It overstated it. With like, coding.
I guess that's true.
Creating and like typing on the keyboard with techno music, and Mr. Robot does it so well, and we're just so like, we've already seen that. And so we're like, I mean, this came out way before. I think the scene also overstays its welcome a little bit. It goes a little bit too long, where it's like, we get it.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I get bored from it.
Yeah. But I like the music during it. It fits well, so it's cool. It's fine.
All right, go to the scene you're talking about the relationship status on Facebook.
I thought that it was a fine way to make him come up with it. I'm not sure about the truthfulness behind this, but the fact that he started saying, they don't wear, their relationship status on their shirt or whatever, like for everyone to see, was a little bit on the nose. Like, I don't feel like anyone would actually say that.
Yes. Okay, so I think my problem with the scene is he goes in, and then it's like such an obvious setup for what's gonna be next, right? He's like, hey, do you know if this girl's in a relationship? And then he's like, oh, Eureka! Runs out, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's the problem I have with the scene, because it also happens later when Sean Parker sees the Facebook, like the website. He's like, what is this website? I gotta go talk to this guy. Eureka! Blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah, that's fair.
it doesn't seem like it's naturally there. It doesn't feel like it naturally flows through, and this is like his life and it naturally flows through it. These scenes seem like this is a scene in a movie that's going to describe how this is added.
Yeah, it was also just weird. Don't you think like someone would just be like, I have no idea. I don't know if they're in a relationship. Saying
I don't know.
The way he led it to it was weird. Like his
it'd be like
was weird.
Yeah, it'd be like, I don't know. And then you're like, man, that's a good idea for Facebook.
Yeah,
hey, I'm gonna
better.
leave. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah, instead of like, they don't wear it on the shirt.
He's like, I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that. I don't know what I was right, what this note is. I just wrote weird praying thing. Someone prayed really weird.
Oh, he did. He started rocking back and forth.
Started rocking back and forth. Yeah, it was weird.
See, I didn't know if Mark Zuckerberg actually does that. Like, if that, like, is one of his actions that he does.
It's so weird. Making him rock back and forth, though. They don't, like, go into that anymore either. If that was, like, a way that he could, like, calm down and focus
or if he, like,
his
constantly
head.
did it. If he constantly did it.
It was just weird. It was out of place to me.
Extremely.
Yeah. Because he doesn't do it again.
Yeah, that's what's weird. It's like, if he did that as, like, a way... Like, it's written in the story more than just him doing it once as, like, praying. It's weird. Div sees the Facebook and tells the twins that he stole the idea. But then one of them says...
Oh, guess what they're doing? Guess what they're doing when he tells them?
Wait, no. Hold on. I want to add this part.
Yeah.
What sport do you think the Winklevoss twins do?
Lacrosse?
Oh, yeah. That. I'm sorry. It just tells us 6 times in this movie that they row.
Okay, so Winklevoss twins. They're either rowing for like 70% of the scenes they're in. But I want to add to this part. This is where I feel like the movie has good dialogue, and I feel like this is where the movie has bad dialogue. Divya is at like this choir thing, right? And he's like next to a girl with her laptop or whatever, and then she's like, oh, I love these cats. Or like, what is this? Like, I hope it's cats that look like Hitler. I love those pictures. And it's like, what?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Like, what type of joke is that to add to the movie? Not that it's like offensive or anything. It's just a bad joke. Like, what is that like supposed to add to the movie at all? I think that's like,
I don't know,
a line with bad, like, we're bad dialogue.
I see.
Just
yeah.
random girl.
It's like
I like pictures of cats that look like Hitlers. Yeah, it's like
the random one-lines
one-lines
are like way worse than the dialogue between people. I think by far the best part of this movie and the best part of Aaron Sorkin movies are dialogue between people. Their quippiness between them. He writes that extremely well. But like you're saying, that one line is just weird. So it's almost like, and also one-lines are added a lot by directors. Because it's like, while they're filming, hey, say this, they come up with it on the spot. So I'm not sure if that's part of it, or if it was actually written in the script. It's weird.
But we get to Divya talking to the Winklevoss twins, and they're rowing, and then they go up into their, like, room or something, and they're all talking about it. And I feel like this is another scene where it's bad dialogue. Let me read some lines that I took down. If I was a drug dealer, I couldn't give free drugs to 650 people in one day. This is the internet. No, duh. It's easier to get something across the internet to 650 people than give out free drugs to people. And I promise you,
They already
if you
know
were
it.
in
It's
the
not like
right...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you were in the right spot, you could give free drugs to 650 people, but you're an entitled white Harvard guy. Like, no, duh, you wouldn't know how to do that.
It's also like, he didn't invent the internet. If he invented the internet, that line would make a little bit more sense. But
yes.
It's Facebook. You know what the internet is. You know it can spread.
Another line. I'm a competitive racer. You don't need to school me on the importance of getting there
That
first.
one was horrible.
Oh
That one
my
was
God.
bad. That one I wrote down because that one was bad, okay? I will agree with that.
It's like cringe, bro. It's like, I don't
That
like
one was
that one.
horribly placed. I will
How
agree
about
with you.
how about this? No, I want to hire the Sopranos to beat him with a hammer. We don't have to do that. We can do that ourselves. I'm 6'5", 220, and there's 2 of me.
Just imagine Zach and Cody doing that instead, saying they're 6'5", 200
You would
pounds.
like
That'd be
it, wouldn't you?
great.
You'd
That'd
like
be
it.
fantastic.
That would be great.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, the Winklevoss twins don't have the best dialogue. You're
Bad
right. You're right.
Dialogue.
Yeah.
galore.
It's just they act cringe. They just act. It's like not the acting itself, but the characters act cringe and say
Correct.
cringy things. So,
And this line, because we're gentlemen of Harvard. This is Harvard, where you don't plant stories and you don't sue people. Are you trying to get me to believe that no one at Harvard has ever sued anyone? These rich motherfuckers, you
probably how
want
most
me
of
to
their
believe,
parents made
you
their money.
don't want me to believe that they've never sued anybody. And it's like this weird, we have to be gentlemen. We have to be gentlemen throughout the entire movie. And then it's like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be gentlemen. We're going to sue them. It's like, oh, come on.
It took too long to get there. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I will say they did say I was stupid in the movie, because that was Cameron's idea to do it. And
Why
then
don't they
Tyler
just go
and
do
Divya
it? Why
said
don't
was
the other two
stupid.
just go do it? I don't get why the other two can't do it without him. Why do they like?
Right,
That doesn't make sense to me.
that's true.
Also, like, most of their parents are probably douchebags. That's how they got their money. They probably sue the shit out of people.
Truth.
So it's like, question mark? It's like a way to get the movie to, like, push that off till, like, later. Till it fits the story a little bit more, I think.
What else do you guys have about this scene?
I don't have anything else about this scene, specifically.
Me neither.
Okay, because they cut to the legal battle scene, and Mark Zuckerberg's lawyer talks to Eduardo, and he calls him Eduardo. And then Eduardo's lawyer says, would you mind addressing him as Mr. Saverin? And then Mark's lawyer says, Gretchen, they're best friends. And then she says, not anymore. I don't care if they're best friends. Mark Zuckerberg lawyer, you're not Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
You're his
Yeah.
goddamn lawyer.
Yeah,
You
that's
should be
weird.
calling him Mr. Saverin anyways. Why the fuck would you feel like you get to call him Eduardo?
It
That
was,
doesn't
no,
make
no, hey,
any sense.
It was to lead to the best friend thing where he said, well, your best friend is suing you
Not
for $6 million.
anymore.
It was leading to the best
was-
friend line.
I understand that.
I understand.
I
Yeah,
got
getting
the
there was
setup,
rough. Getting there was
but
rough.
it's rough.
Getting there was rough.
Ru-
I'll agree
roll,
with you. This is one of those scenes where he said his best friend, and he looked at the chair, where you're like, oh, maybe there's some remorse in him, but they don't go far enough with it, and either it would be too like it just is weird for the movie. If it was a fake movie about not real people, I wish they would explore that more with like him feeling remorseful.
Yeah, but that's like another example of bad dialogue to me, where they know where they want to go, they know what the punchline is going to be, but they have such a bad setup to get there.
This is
That's
like
fair,
stuff that
yeah.
just went by me, and I didn't care about.
That's
during,
true.
But you're completely right.
Yeah.
Brenda, this is the Bill Gates seminar.
This is the Bill Gates
Yeah.
seminar with Brenda Song.
We talked about this earlier. They're way too far to be whispering. How is no one telling him to shut the fuck up in between them? There's like 3 people in between them, and they cut to them like whispering like this. I'm like, dude, I could not hear that far away.
And
I don't
extras.
get what is that. I don't get what the choice was behind that. Like that.
They could have
setup.
just sat next to him or
Yeah,
something.
who cares? You're
Some
already
different
taking
scene.
liberties in this movie. Just like
You know,
put them right next.
you know
to
what's
each other.
funny too? You know what's funny too is like the extras in the scene is like they're doing the extras thing where like they're pretending they don't see what's going on. They're
So
not looking
weird.
over. They're not looking in between. Like if you're sitting in between them, you'd be like looking at them and looking back, and you're like, what the fuck are these guys doing? But
Yeah.
like all the extras in the movies, they're just like sitting there, looking straight forward, looking at the thing. And also, okay, so this is also gets into like the whole Brenda Song and her friend being groupies for Eduardo and Mark Zuckerberg. So not only did we already talk about Brenda Song being the Asian one and then going after this Jewish guy after they already like generalized Asian women and liking Jewish guys, blah, 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 blah. But Mark Zuckerberg would already be dating Priscilla Chan right now, and he's going to marry her later on. And Priscilla Chan has been quoted saying that they've been together since the face mash incident, and she knows that she was busy with Facebook, but she would require 1 date per week or 100 minutes alone time not on Facebook. So we know
could've
that they're
had something
spending
like that.
a lot of
Yeah.
time together. And am I trying to say that Mark Zuckerberg never had groupies? No, I'm sure he had groupies, right? I'm sure he cheated on her or whatever. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. Not for me to say. But this is where you could have added, I don't know, the Asian one be Mark Zuckerberg's girl and not the white one and not the Asian one for the Jewish guy. It's like you're taking
Who made
liberties.
a bad joke about it earlier.
Yeah, and you're taking
Yeah.
liberties again when in real life Mark Zuckerberg did date the Asian one. It just doesn't make sense.
And also, like, having them both do the nasty in the bathroom later. It's also weird when that's not part of the story with him, like when he was actually with someone already.
Gosh, and it's also just like there's no point in that scene. That's just like another throw it in for the boys scene. Another misogyny.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't like it. I was just saying that it's also weird that they added it.
True, and
it's not accurate.
This is another bad dialogue scene. They walk out. Mark Zuckerberg, like someone recognizes Mark Zuckerberg. He's like, "Oh, good job coding the Facebook or whatever." And then the guy, like one of them, like didn't know that Bill Gates was a speaker or whatever. And then Mark Zuckerberg was like, "That's Bill Gates." And then his friends to him were like, "Are you a moron? Are you medically stupid? Can I get a Glock and kill you?" Who says those things?
Yeah, I didn't like that part. I thought that was bad.
Actually says, "Are you a moron?" Okay. Are you medically stupid? We know the real word they would have just used for that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
also one of those things that, like, I'm taking a jump of. I mean, like, I'm making this assumption, right? Mm-hmm. Scenes like that really seem like a director threw them in. Whenever they're like quick, quippy, like, oh, when the camera's on them, say this, but it doesn't actually seem like it's part of the dialogue. Like it doesn't really fit with how a lot of the other scenes are written too.
I can get that.
So I feel like it's a David Fincher thing more than it is like the writing. But I also like Aaron Sorkin, so maybe I'm assuming.
Yeah. Also, can I get a Glock and kill you?
Bad joke.
Like
bad.
That's just like
that's a big yikes.
Like not like take like the like bad implications out of it or whatever. It's just a bad joke, and I don't think I've heard anyone ever say that. Like, man, I'd kill you, or like, man, I should kill you, or something like that. But can I get a Glock and kill you? That's pretty weird.
If you said that to me, I'd genuinely be afraid. Like, I'd genuinely be worried. It's just so like, that's not funny.
If you were like, man, I want to kill you, it'd be like, haha, yeah, you want to kill me. But it's like, can I get a Glock and kill you? Mark, can I get an AR-15 and load it up with 30 rounds and come to your house and break down the door and kill you?
Like, good one. Yeah, that's a good joke. Good one.
We're friends at college.
We're so drunk.
That really shows you how dumb you are. Except they're not drunk because they just got out of a seminar.
True. They acted drunk, kind of. It cuts back to the office. Wait, no. Before
it, Mark talks to Erica.
Yeah. And her acting, I like her as an actress. She's just not.
I do too.
Enough.
I loved this scene. I loved it when she like refuses to talk to him and like he wants to talk to her privately and he's like no and stuff. Oh, this is also after the bathroom double blowjob scene, which come on,
yikes.
Really?
I like a small part where Erica, where like the guy is like, "Is there a problem here?" She's like, "There's no problem." Where it's like, okay, thank you, a woman standing up for herself and not needing like.
Right.
She's
finally
the only female character. The only female.
Well, it's like
character
finally, but I don't give this movie credit because it doesn't do it enough. It's only one person who does it. But Erica, I like that character. I wish
it's only one person, and she's like the only person. And I think so. I think this is also another weird part. Because I feel like you get the vibe that Priscilla Chan, like Mark Zuckerberg's real wife, is a strong woman. Like she graduated from Harvard and then she got her doctorates at some college, like university in the Bay Area, and they have this like Zuckerberg Chan thing, like philanthropy thing, where like it's like charity or whatever, and like she's a strong woman and she's successful in real life. And then in this movie, you really only have Erica Albright, and she's barely in it, and she like stands up for herself like this once.
Yeah, I wish there was more of that. I also like, so soon after this, we cut to like Rashida Jones, who's an associate at the firm, when they're at the Eduardo hearing, Karen from The Office, and
also Parks and Rec.
And Perkins.
More Parks and Rec, but people know The Office more. That's why I said that. And like she's fine in this, but she's barely like in it. I don't like later in the movie that she like delivers like the last lines. What I would have liked,
Mark Zuckerberg sympathizer, right?
It's weird, right? But what I would have liked is they made like maybe Erica be at the hearing. And she's, like, against him the whole time. But then when he's there at night, Erica comes in, and she tells him, "You're not an asshole. You just want everyone..." Like, if she delivered that line...
It'd be a lot
stronger. Yeah. And then... so it's like... I wish they would have done it that way instead of
that's
just
also
random
like
character.
That's also what I'm talking about. When they already take liberties, just take another one, and you could do that.
Yeah, that character's not
true.
even real, so you might as well just make her do it. So, we have the plan to meet the president. I guess they don't yet.
right.
I just wrote that they
Winklevoss
planned.
twins
I write
plan
the
to meet.
yeah.
Yeah, it's more of like the idea be like, oh, we sent the cease and desist letter, and he's still like expanding, and then the twins are like, okay, now we gotta talk to the president because of the student handbook.
But they don't actually talk to him for a while, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, they just plan on it, and then we cut to Sean Parker.
Yeah,
Justin
Sean
Timberlake.
before the meeting.
We talked about that.
Sean Parker in this scene. Paint him in only one light and keep that light on him the entire movie.
And again, nothing against Justin Timberlake, because I thought he did good.
I thought
with what
his
he was
acting
given.
was good.
I agree.
His acting
Yeah.
was good. Yeah. Which is interesting, because it's Justin Timberlake. But, yeah. What Tony was saying.
You know what I actually thought was funny when
Also,
she's
the
like,
snake. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
when she's like, "What's my major?" Blah 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 blah. I thought he was like reading it off of her Facebook, but it wasn't.
No, he's just a stalker.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's just like a weirdo guy.
He's just
Then
a
it's also like-
weirdo guy. He also said there's a snake in her apartment.
A snake in her
weird.
apartment. I'd be like, "Yo, you're the dude. Deal with it." And it's
Um,
also like a snake in like California, in like Palo Alto or whatever, like near Stanford. It's like, well, fuck you.
Well, it's also the fact that it's like, she just got in the shower and he's like, "Hey, could you come out here?" I'd be like, "What the fuck? No!" Like this random
Yeah.
guy, that, like this one night
Yeah.
stand, and he's just like, "Can you come out here as soon as you get in the shower?" That's weird. And then you tell her a snake's out here because you couldn't wait 5 minutes. Like,
5
what
minutes.
the fuck is wrong with you? You
Or just
douchebag?
talk to her through the door.
Just go in there. You just slept together. Who gives a fuck? Like, I don't get it. I don't. That was weird. And then that's when they go
After
and talk
this-
to the Harvard president,
Yes.
Yes.
who is also a rich white chode. Another one.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, like too many
I
many
think
cooks.
I think what they were trying to do, and I guess they failed, was to make it more like Mark screwed him out because they were already rich. Like that's what they made it out to be in the courtroom, not the courtroom, but the lawsuit. That he did it because they were already rich, and just one thing didn't go right for them this time.
Which is true.
I hate that line though.
It's also true, though. It's true, but it's a weird written line.
I guess they could have done
I
it
hate
better.
that line
I think that's what they
coming
were going
from
for.
Mark Zuckerberg. I hate that line coming
Yeah.
from him.
Okay, that's
because
fair.
he's like, they're not suing me because they want this money. They're just suing me because they didn't get what they wanted for one time. And then before in the movie, he's like, I'm not jealous about the Phoenix Club. I could buy the avenue that Phoenix Club is on and the Phoenix Club and turn it into my ping pong table. It's like, okay, so Mark Zuckerberg establishes that he's already rich, right? And then he's also just battling these other rich guys. And then he has the audacity to say that. Mark Zuckerberg, before going to college, was offered to either go to college or own a McDonald's franchise, and he chose to go to college. So we know
Or own?
the type of, or own a McDonald's franchise. Yes,
Oh my god.
He was offered that.
yes.
See,
by
this
his
is
dad.
stuff
So
I
we're
wish
getting-
they put in the movie because I didn't know this.
That's what I mean, that this movie could have been
It
longer.
just-
That's what I'm saying.
man,
like,
my-
give more context behind
yeah.
stuff.
My feeling though, with the theme that this movie is going for, they still wouldn't add that though, because they're trying to portray Mark
True.
Zuckerberg. They almost want to portray Mark Zuckerberg as this like lowly guy compared to this Winklevoss twins, but he's also rich. So that line coming from him is rich. It's like, give me a break.
Yep, I'll agree with that. Either way, the Harvard dean or president or whatever, he sucks just as bad as everyone else. I don't care if what they're saying is dumb and they're rich. You gotta act better as a fucking president. I'm positive that the guy actually was nicer than that.
was more professional.
Promise He was
Yeah,
more
like, are
professional.
you
than
kidding me? Like, who would act like that? Like,
that.
nobody
No one would act like
Nobody.
that.
They would be like, okay, I don't think this is a big deal. Like, they would be way nicer. I don't know why they made him such a douche, but
Wait.
okay.
I've been pretty negative about this film. I'll
Yes.
add this positive part.
Okay.
I liked this building is 100 years older than the countries it's in, so do be careful. And then he's like, we're sitting in chairs.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
give that.
And then I like when he's like, whoops, broke your
I do like that.
335-year-old doorknob.
Yeah, that was good too. And it would
Also
have been
like
better if Zach or Cody did it. Just saying.
Actually, I would believe that 1,000,000%. The delivery they would have would be a lot
Zach
better.
and Cody.
Also, I'm also shitting on this movie, but it's so much easier to shit on the negatives than like sit on the positives. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of positives for this movie, but they're kind of like, oh, I like this part. But then when you get into something that's super negative, you could just keep going into it. So it's like,
I will say
that's part of why it sounds so negative. I'm standing by a 7.8 for this movie, but it has a lot of issues.
I will say that I actually did not like this movie, and it was not entertaining to me. So I think it's below a 5. But like the technical aspects of it and
Very
like
good technical
certain parts
aspects,
of the dialogue bring it up to a 5. But like why I'm like griping on it so much is because like actually for most of the movie I did not like it at all.
That's fair. I was entertained the entire time, so I'm the opposite. I enjoyed almost the entire thing, but my nitpicks brought it down from a high rating when yours brought it up from a low rating, because you see what I mean? Like,
and I'm getting swayed
Luke's like
all these negative stuff I just didn't think about.
I think it's
and
presented
stuff I
in a
didn't
way
know
that
wasn't true.
makes you not think about it. Because I was entertained the entire time. It didn't make me think about it, and now I wrote down nitpicks, but Tony's also bringing up points that are true, so it's not presented that way.
And there's stuff that isn't true that I didn't know about, so it's like,
There's also it's very technically well done for certain scenes. The dialogue that's actually Aaron Sorkin is really good a lot of the times. A lot of the directing and cinematography is really good. I really like the lighting in certain scenes.
Right.
But then you have weird scenes of bad directing and weird scenes of bad dialogue. Noise. It's weird. Like,
see, I would say that I'm
back
less
and forth between ratings.
I would say I'm less film literate. Like, obviously, Mark is the most because he went to film school.
I dropped out.
Those like good things. So like those good aspects of like the technical things would like enhance the movie for him. But for me, it enhances it less as just like a casual viewer.
Yeah. Differing opinions for sure, because when you know more stuff about, oh, that's technically well done, or that's really well made, but like a lot of casual viewers might not even notice what I'm talking about, you see.
Yeah.
Eduardo doesn't want to meet with Sean Parker, but Mark does. Sean talks about his business ventures, but he always blew it and asked Mark to come to California. That was a super quick way to describe that scene. But
what do you think about the scene when
the Shaunathon?
Eduardo is talking.
Shut up.
Eduardo's like talking to an investor or like an advertiser or whatever, and like Mark Zuckerberg is there too, and then Mark's just sitting there. He's like,
oh, he's making the Hereditary noise.
Oh gosh.
You guys haven't seen that movie, have you?
I haven't seen it.
I know that's
but
a
you've
sound.
told me
I know that's
about
a
it.
second.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, why wouldn't he want the investor? Like,
or the
advertiser.
Cool.
Why?
It
But
wouldn't be
who
cool.
cares? I don't understand it. Like, they didn't. We know he wants to be rich, right? And he wants to put ads on it, but not yet, because he wants to get bigger before they start making money. But he wants to make money. Why wouldn't you go to an advertiser? There's a movie that does this really well called A Futile and Stupid Gesture, which I won't spoil it, but he's like, fuck these big corporate people. I don't want to do it that way, right? And they explain why they wouldn't want to do it that way, but this movie doesn't do that. And then you're like, why is he being a douche at this scene?
So Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not him, so I don't know if it's like what he did.
Wait,
and I haven't read about it.
You're not
but
Mark
like,
Zuckerberg.
What the fuck?
He could have honestly, like, in the beginning days of Facebook,
sorry.
He could have honestly not want advertisers. But like in 2010 and beyond, we know Facebook is littered with ads. And it's like,
oh my god, it's
stealing,
insane.
and then so they're making money that way, and then they also take your data and they also sell that, and that's a proven fact, and so we know they're making money from that too. So like making a movie where it like really emphasizes that part of it is like weird to me. Like, it's true, right? That could happen, but like, why would you want to stick to that being true in the movie where you're already like not really sticking to the truth?
It's also just so weird. Like I don't understand it. And he doesn't really act like that later in the movie. He just says he doesn't want to do certain things, but he doesn't act like... It was kind of a weird thing.
Like that.
Like, I get why they did it. I don't like the way they did it. He could have been an ass in a different way at that scene. But they're at the bar, so I kind of went over that part really quick. When they're at the bar, and Eduardo's like, fuck this guy, you know? which I was also like, fuck this guy, but kind of fuck everyone in the scene. Brenda Song is the only one that's actually normal, and then they make her crazy later, which is weird.
I don't know why they made her insane. Again, I thought, oh, it was a true person, but probably not.
Probably not, now that we're learning all this.
Her
Now
being
you
crazy,
see all this.
her being crazy adds nothing to the story at all, except
Pushing
and
him
then-
to San Francisco, that's it.
And then it's also like this, though. It's also like this, haha, crazy Asian girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I was actually excited because she was the only one in the scene. Well, they kind of make you want to like Eduardo a little bit. So you're kind of liking the Eduardo character we're watching. And then Brenda Song. And she's actually acting really well, I thought. I thought she did perfect for this movie, you know?
Yeah, she is good.
And then it's weird that later they're just like, she's going to burn his bed on fire. Like, it's just weird.
And she sent him 47 texts. And it's
And
like,
the way
honestly,
they led to this was him saying she's psychotic. That's the
Yes.
only that's the
Only
only
thing.
leading up.
The
to
only
it.
thing
It's
that led up
weird.
to it.
Very, very weird.
the only thing that ever led up to that is Mark Zuckerberg's, how's your girlfriend? And it's like, oh, she's psychotic. And then boom, cuts to the scene of her being psychotic. And it's like super like
out of
level
place.
level
Out of the
11
blue.
psychotic. It's like out of the blue. There's no lead up to it whatsoever. There's like not even like any hints of it before in the movie. And you're like, come on.
I know. And then they go to that scene like where she says, "Oh, you're leaving so soon," like as like a joke. But to me, I would just feel bad for the person and want her to get help because she's
Right.
obviously like needs mental help. But it's like they
But they
present
make a
it in
joke
the
of her.
Yeah, it's really, really weird, and she doesn't act like that at all before. You know, so that was weird. Anyway, he says that there is a line I really like in here at this dinner scene, and they say that, or when they're like out talking with Sean, and he says Baylor has a site, so they need the schools like around them to get Facebook first, so everyone wants it. And Sean's like, I like that idea, and Eduardo replies, thanks, that was mine, like as a big fuck you, which I like that line. And then Sean also says, you know what is cool? And he's like, you? Which was also
Yeah.
like, so I liked all of Eduardo's back and forth with him, you know what I mean?
I liked that too. And you know what? I like that it was Eduardo that came up with that, but then they still don't like give him any credit for anything later on.
Yeah.
Right.
No. I also like they cut back to like a court scene, and he says he owned Mark after that dinner, which of course we talked about. We didn't like Sean completely controlling him, but I like that line where it's like you were his little bitch, kind of.
Okay, what about this line? After he made his biggest contribution to the company, and then it cuts to Sean Parker, and he says, drop just Facebook.
How did you not think of that before? Why was that never an idea in your mind? Like, you're telling me you thought of the Facebook and never were like, what would it sound like without the? Like, you
It's
never
also just
thought
like
about that once.
the way that it's like added into the movie, though, is just so cheesy.
I would have rather them never even brought it up and just called
Facebook
it Facebook
for
from the get-go, honestly.
Yeah.
That is
I mean,
weird.
to be
Even
honest,
if it
how
was-
it probably came up was like some meeting internally. Maybe Sean Parker was there and he did it, but it would have been some like meeting internally. It wouldn't be we're having this lunch and he's buying us all these drinks and we're like drinking all these drinks, but no one acts drunk for some reason. And then he leaves and he says, as he's leaving, he says, drop just Facebook. And then he puts on his
Mark's like,
sunglasses and walks into the sunset. And then, the audience goes,
Yeah. Well, that was weird. It cuts back to Eduardo at the court hearing. This is where they bring up the animal cruelty,
Right.
which was when he had to take care of a chicken for the Phoenix, and he fed
Forced
it cooked
cannibalism.
chicken. They called it
do
forced
you guys know
cannibalism.
if this is a real story?
No idea.
Again, I don't know. I
Luke
thought I
didn't
was
do
real,
any
and I
fact
don't know.
checking about his own movie. Okay, it wasn't my job.
I fact checked about the about Mark's interview and
That's all
his
you did?
blog and
Yikes.
Erica.
Yeah,
and-
Because
but I
in
did not
real
fact check
life,
about Eduardo.
in real life, you can give chicken cooked chicken, and you could give pigs cooked pig, and you could give cows cooked cow.
which is why
where it goes,
It's
where
fine.
it-
Oh, good.
where like it gets into like mad cow disease is when it's like the meat's bad and like it's raw and stuff like that. But like you could actually give cooked chicken.
But I think that's why Eduardo didn't make a big deal out of it and was like, I didn't know I was supposed to because college campus animal rights activists were saying, no, you can't do that. But in real life, it's not a big deal, which is why he doesn't make it a big deal. And even the lawyers are kind of like smirking at it because it's not a big deal. So I'm actually okay with them having it in there because it's actually not something that's like the worst thing in the world for them.
This is where I think if it's true, then it's fine. But if they're just adding this to the story,
okay, that's
then it's weird.
Well,
Yeah.
I still think it's fine because everyone else is like, no, it's fine. Except for
My problem
why
is
he
it's
got
like
in trouble.
now it's taking a jab at animal activists.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the only jabs you can take at animal activists are PETA, okay? That's
Yeah, PETA is legitimately horrible, but then like you're just like taking a jab at animal activists
In
overall,
general,
and it's
yeah.
just weird.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
right.
you're saying they're dumb and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's either real and it's fine, or
And
it's
that's
fake, and then it's like, why are you making animal rights activists look that way?
And this makes it a worse movie that you don't know what's true and not. And it's supposed to be a biographical like story about Mark, but you don't know what's true or not.
But it's also
in
like
the
you don't
movie.
know what's true from the book, also, because what if all
Right.
these facts that were fake about this story were in the book that was like what Aaron Sorkin adapted because someone lied in the, like everything's
Right.
weird. We haven't read the book, we don't know. We weren't there, we don't know. All these facts that people are saying are false, we don't know if they're lying. Like, it's really weird. So hey, it would be nice if we knew everything, but there's
Ooh,
also
I looked it up. So despite the outrage over Saverin's supposed action, it's not clear if he really did feed the chicken in the film. And in real life, he wasn't named in the Crimson article. Factory farm chickens routinely are fed byproducts of the meat industry, including chicken parts.
okay, so it's not real.
Yeah, in that article, does it mention something about the Phoenix is hazing? It might be, they might include that because I read something that the Phoenix includes hazing with chickens.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe
But it never
without-
showed up.
Eduardo.
Maybe he did something way worse to a chicken, and they didn't want to put in the movie because he's supposed to kind of be a protagonist.
But
But
why
it
Maybe he
show-
killed a
put it
secret
in there?
chicken.
In
Maybe
the
he killed a
Crimson
secret
article.
chicken.
But
A
it didn't
secret
show up
chicken.
in the Crimson article, and that's like the big problem anyways, right? Is that
Yeah.
the story gets to the Crimson
you're
article, and
supposed
then at
to
the
think-
end, Eduardo thinks Marx puts it there. But it was never
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Why did he take so many liberties with it? I mean, at this point, it's not even a true story.
But also, like I said, yeah, I don't know what was also written in the book, though. Like that could
Yeah.
have been made up too. Like, it's
That's
really,
true.
really weird.
Weird.
There is a parallel there where Eduardo accidentally says that he cheated on his exam, that Mark Zuckerberg cheated on his exam, and he says, oops, and then Mark's lawyer says that he actually defended Eduardo about the chicken, and Mark says,
Right.
oops. I'm fine with the parallel. It's weird because the chicken part's not real, and also, why would Mark have to cheat on an exam when he's a genius? So both parts are weird. That led to like a oops, which I like the oops, but it's like both things
Yeah.
didn't really make sense.
Yeah, agreed.
We cut to a hacking event with too much background noise.
Hacking,
And
drinking
background
event
noise.
again with too much background noise.
Elliot Alderson would destroy all of them.
In a heartbeat.
In a
So would
heartbeat.
Darlene. Okay.
All of Mr. Robot would fucking school these kids. And Eduardo gives him $18,000. And you're like, holy fuck, this guy's already fucking loaded. Because $18,000 back,
Is
like,
a lot.
in 2003, too, that was, what, almost 18 years ago now? That's fucking crazy. $18,000? Like, it's not like the inflation's insane on $18,000, but I'm saying, if I have nowhere near $18,000 in all of my accounts combined, and he's just
Right.
lending it to me. That's crazy. And then I wrote, I don't know the truthfulness about Sean being across the street and
Exactly.
God.
seeing the
Exactly.
house.
I doubt.
What?
I highly doubt.
You're
I
gonna
super,
take that
super highly
liberty,
doubt.
but Brenda Song can't be sitting next to Andrew Garfield in the seminar?
I
Exactly.
super
See,
highly doubt. I super
yeah.
highly doubt. And also, it was funny because like he's like zip lines and the chimney breaks down, and then it's like, oh, chimney breaks down, and then like barely any time's passed. It's like ding dong, and it's like they really just ran over like that quick.
It's also, why was he across the street? What? What is
Yeah,
that?
he was
kid?
helping
what
his
is that?
he was helping his friend move out.
It makes me think that he's like spying on them and stalking them because he obviously knew a lot about this like Dakota Johnson earlier. He knew everything about her, so I'm like, man, this guy's a fucking creep. But then they never explain it, so he really was just across the street by it. So it's weird.
At least
I
in the
don't get
movie,
that.
he was. And this is
However,
where like the movie takes a lot of liberties, and then like they show this scene, and then like if you didn't know, you could be like, oh wow, this scene actually happened. That's pretty cool. But like you already like if you know that how many liberties they did take already, you're like, bull fucking shit. That's
Yeah,
like
guess
the
what,
biggest
can't believe it,
coincidence.
yeah.
And
Guess
now
what,
you're trying to
people?
display it as a scene in the movie.
Guess what, people?
Yeah.
From this article, Sean Parker didn't coincidentally live across the street from the Facebook team in the summer of 2004.
well, he wasn't living there in the movie either. He was at his friend's house, the girl he was
Right.
sleeping with. But either way, it was fake, and we knew it was fake because that was like way too crazy. It's in California. You're telling me out of the amount of people that live in California, he was at a friend's house across the street from where Mark Zuckerberg was when they already had a meeting? That is so weird. It's just
So
like
weird.
so weird why they put that in there. It's almost like they had a different way and they cut it out and threw that in last second, like as like that, like as a reshoot. However, when they're like in the like when Mark throws the beer to the girl and she misses
I
it,
did like that.
I like
like
how the
that
second one
directing,
hit the camera too.
The
that was a
camera.
cool
Yeah,
shot.
I like
that was a
that.
cool shot.
Very cool.
I also just kind of like how he did it a second time, like an idiot. That was kind of funny. And then we get to Mark with Sean at the club with
No, please.
Where you
no.
can barely
the
hear 'em.
worst background, but like they're screaming and you can barely hear them. What is the point of that? David Fincher, send me some hate mail and tell me why you do that. Because I don't get
understand.
that. I don't understand what that adds to the movie. No
I
one
don't know
gives
when
a
he
shit.
started to do that too, because Fight Club he didn't do that.
Fight Club, he didn't do that. He does it in Mindhunter in one part.
He does. He
in
does.
like one of the episodes.
In the
directed
episode he
Mindhunter.
directed. Yep.
This is like
weirdo.
the worst case of it too. Like this one, like the other ones I noticed. This one I was like, wow, this is bad.
You like the captions, the subtitles were on full blast for me because
Give
I
me-
needed them.
Subtitles.
Give me your opinion on the whole Victoria's Secret parabola.
Stupid.
Stupid as hell, bro.
Well, and it was all like just going to the fact that the guy who created Victoria's Secret killed himself just to say he was with the Victoria's Secret model. That was weird.
I don't know
Yeah.
why he did
Way
that.
too
Yeah.
long of a part
Way
in a scene that you have to
too
pay
long.
attention to the like what they're saying too. Also, I would
Yes.
like to preface this by saying I think David Fincher's a good director who is a fucking weirdo that does weird things, but makes really good movies. Like he made Fight Club, one of my favorite movies. Like he did Seven, which is a very good movie. I think he's a good director that does weird things for weird reasons. So it's kind of like these are those scenes where I don't understand why he even does it.
We're about to get to the rowing scene too.
Ooh, what the
Ooh,
fuck?
wait.
Eey,
This
cringe.
is another part where like Sean Parker says he created Napster because of some girl or whatever, and he wanted to steal the girl or whatever, and then it kind of gets to Mark Zuckerberg like reminiscing about Erica Albright and he wants her back or whatever. And this is like another part that's like obviously not true because he'd be dating Priscilla Chan right now and he's gonna have 2 kids with her and he's gonna marry her. He wouldn't be thinking about some Erica Albright, but it's like so strange to just like continue this along in the movie.
Unless he had an instant way before the movie that they're just trying to, exemplify throughout this story. But it is very weird that it's strung along.
But you can't
and then
exemplify
what's also
something.
weird-
My problem is you can't exemplify something before the movie, before he even made Face Mash, and then add it in to the movie during this whole like Facebook era.
I'll agree with that. It's also weird
Yeah.
that they end the movie on him refreshing for friend request, which is like you're making the whole movie about that if you're ending it, and it's like
That's like
not
the
even
resolution to the movie. That's like the resolution.
Yeah, which
to the
is
movie.
weird. So I'll agree there, but we do get a cut to a
your
rowing
favorite scene.
scene.
Rowing scene.
Not only
Rowing
is it
scene.
extremely out of place and breaks the pacing, it also has weird blurry backgrounds and very loud music that doesn't fit the tone.
Yeah, it's like the da 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 da.
Yeah, why?
I don't
Why?
know.
That is a David Fincher
don't
thing.
know.
That is not a Trent Reznor thing. That is like the director because that's
Dave
already
Fincher saying do this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like because that's obviously a very specific thing for that kind of scene. So I'm assuming that that's a David Fincher thing. Maybe I'm going crazy, but there's also weird blurry backgrounds and blurry shots of people. And why did we need this? We don't give a fuck about them rowing. We already know they row, and it's like why? Why was this put in there?
They could just be
You know what's
at
funny,
the
too?
party afterwards. Not
Yeah,
the
yeah, exactly.
rowing.
You know what's funny too is like the entire time it's just the two of them training together, and then when a race actually happens, you see that it's like actually a team of like 8 or 10 guys or whatever.
Maybe you should have been training with them, and then you would have won the race.
It's like, they've only been training them two, and they don't involve any of the other team in this movie. It's like, realistically, they probably were training with their team and stuff, and it's like...
But they wanted to make it dramatic whenever they were there, just them two.
Yeah,
so.
and they just want them to. Also, they end up losing.
They do.
What's weird about the losing is I'm fine with people losing something they're training for, but why even, like, we don't care about them enough to care about their training, to care about them losing. I don't give a fuck at all. They could have just cut to them at the party like, fuck, we lost. And it's like...
And it's funny, at the party, they're like wearing the same exact uniform, except one has their hair slicked and one just has their hair regular, and it's like, hey, look,
So
these
you
guys
can
are two different people.
distinguish them.
It's two different people, but why didn't they do that the whole movie? Because they look
I
the
know,
exact
right?
same other than that one scene where you're like, oh, those are two different people. Like, I don't get it. Very weird choices with Armie Hammer. Also, Armie Hammer has some controversy behind him.
Yes, he does.
Quite a bit, actually. So, he's a good actor, but I'm not going to say anything else because he apparently is not a good person. So,
Yeah. So
still so
they want to sue Mark. Surprise, surprise. And then that's the last we ever see of him in the whole movie
of the
of
brothers?
the twins. Yeah,
Oh.
because you get him at the lawsuit and whatnot, but like that's it.
That's, you're right. That's weird.
So
Also,
Nice.
everyone kept telling him it was such a close race, and then they were mad about them saying it was such a close race, but it's also like, they were just trying to be nice douchebags. Like, why are they
True.
mad about that? Like, I get that they're, like, petty, they're all, like, feisty about it, but shut the fuck up. Like, stop. And then, there's a horrible line in this, where one of the twins was, like, they were annoyed because the one wouldn't sue, and then he agrees to sue him, and he says, let's gut the freaking nerd. Ooh.
Yes,
Who
yes.
wrote that?
yes,
That's
that was
Aaron
Aaron
Sorkin.
Sorkin.
That
That's
better
Aaron.
not. That
That
better
was
not.
Aaron. That was Aaron. You have to know that.
Ew! What a bad line. What a bad line. It's like this movie should have been rated R just so you could have powerful moments of them cussing. Like when Eduardo smashes the laptop, if he was screaming at him and like cussing at him,
Yes.
would have worked way better.
Because I like that scene. I like that scene, but
Very emotional scene.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that
my
scene a
favorite
lot.
scene.
That's my favorite scene in the movie.
But also, like, let's gut the freaking nerd. It's like, you should have just been like, let's. I can't even think of it, but it's just like something way more powerful than gut the freaking nerd. Yikes, bro. Eduardo shows up at the San Francisco house, and it's raining. Mark was supposed to pick him up at the airport, and Mark's
And
chode.
he does not care. Yeah, Marissa.
Yes.
This is one of those scenes.
What
where
about the
he- oh.
depiction and the girls in this scene? They're
It's
playing
always
video
bad.
games.
It's-
They're playing video games, and then they don't know what's going on. And then Sean Parker's like, "Use this," and I'm like, "We don't know what that is." And then it's like, "Oh, there's just these
Yep.
two hot girls playing video games on the couch, and then they're ripping
You're
from
right.
bongs." And then he comes to the door, and he's dripping wet.
If you're taking liberties in this movie, even if it was a group of guys that did it, put like a woman in there, like helping and being smart and stuff. Like, why does everyone have to be like you're already taking liberties? If it was a group of guys, like it's a group of guys, but don't put these females
Yeah.
in here being dumb just to
Yeah.
show females being dumb. Like, that's stupid.
And Sean's friend who lived across the street, she didn't seem dumb, but then you get her for
She's only in one
a
scene.
minute? Like a minute
Yeah.
or two?
Not
Yeah.
even a minute.
You know what I mean?
Not
Yeah.
even. Maybe like 30 seconds.
Also, the only other smart person other than Erica was Rashida Jones, but we
Yeah.
learn that she's an associate, and they tell us that she's smart, but we don't ever see it. Like,
Yeah.
So that's why I mean this movie could have been. I think longer might have fucked up the pacing, but it would have helped flesh out a lot of things.
Maybe more true.
No, they would have put more fake stuff in. You're right.
You know that more fake stuff.
There's a part where like he sees Eduardo doesn't realize that he didn't pick him up at the airport, like he forgot about that, and he
But
like
then he
pats
just
him on
kinda
the
brushes
shoulder.
it off.
Well,
Yeah.
what I liked was like he pat him on the shoulder, like he was actually happy to see him. So you're like, oh, this
Right.
guy actually
He's
has
like, "Hey,
emotion.
Eduardo."
But
Right.
then he's like, you forgot to pick me up at the airport. He's like, oh, do you want to be like whatever? Like, and then he doesn't care, and you're like, what the fuck?
You know, there was
Yeah.
one scene earlier where he was like, like way earlier in the movie when they first make the Facebook, and Mark's like, "Oh, you're CFO," and then Eduardo's like, "You don't know how much that'll mean to my father," and Mark says, "Yeah, I do." Like, he was actually being a good friend there, and then he just kind of
It's weird with him
beefs it.
trying to be a good friend, or when he looks in the, like, at the hearing, he looks at his chair when he says best friend, but then just immediately being a douchebag. They can't figure out if they want him to do either one in this movie.
See, I thought that's like... I thought when I first watched it, it was like, yes, he cares about what he thinks, but he's so obsessed with Facebook and every
But
other
he's
thing
not.
in his life.
Well, he is, but he's just being petty at the end by the sheriff's
petty
thing.
at the end,
Like,
right?
about the Phoenix. So if he always cares about the Phoenix, show that more than him sometimes being his friend. Sometimes completely fucking him out of the company. Because if he really fucked this guy completely out of the company, you really think he would actually have those moments where he's like, oh, he was my best friend? No, he wouldn't give a shit.
No, and it seemed like it was like Sean's idea, but it'd be better if it was Mark's
going crazy and not
thoughts.
just this,
You
not
know,
putting this Sean guy that's like the Emperor over Darth Vader. Just make
Could
fucking.
you imagine if Justin Timberlake was
Ooh, that'd be
Darth
good.
Sidious?
That'd be good. Oh my god. So Mark says that he should come out here or he'll get left behind. So he's kind of like warning him that they're going to leave him behind.
Yeah.
And then Eduardo's like, he mentions that his girlfriend's going crazy. He's stupid. But then he cancels all of his bank accounts. Good for him. That's what I like. At least in the movie context, good for him. Because they're just using his money without them knowing. Then it cuts and they get offered the $500,000 investment. And then while they're getting offered this, they mention who is Eduardo, and they start bringing up stock options, which comes back later. So I kind of like how they foreshadowed that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Christy shows up at Eduardo's, and of course she's crazy for no reason.
Fire.
She burns his bed on fire. I don't
Well, he gets her a scarf. He gets her a scarf as a gift, and then she's like, what the fuck? Have you ever seen me wear a scarf? Blah, 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 blah. And then she puts it in a trash can, and then she lights it on fire. And this is when Eduardo's having some conversation with Mark, right? And then during this, like, he's all hectic and stuff, and he's, like, running for the fire extinguisher when he could just, like, take it and then, like, take it off his bed and, like, have it vertical on the floor. Like, why didn't he just do that and then
grab the
calmly
sheets?
get the fire extinguisher?
Or just, like, pull the sheets up real quick. Anything. Throw them in the bathtub.
Yeah. Anything.
Yeah. And then they kind of make up on the phone, it seems like, and Mark says that he wants him to come out there when they hit 1 million. And he just asked him to go to San Francisco, right? And he just agrees to go to San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get Brenda Song saying, leaving so soon? And he's like, yeah, actually, I'm going to break up with you. And then cut scene, nothing comes of it. So, like, what was the point of having her be a crazy girlfriend? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And again, probably not a true person, like originally thought.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, you're right. It cuts back and he says that he was getting 34.4% of shares, and then he was like, I should have talked to my lawyers, but I thought they were my lawyers because he was part of Facebook. I like that line too, where that makes sense to me. Like, if Tony and I were friends... Okay, we are friends.
Oh, hypothetical situation.
Whoa!
Okay.
Hypotheticals.
What I meant was, if we were friends and we started Facebook, and like I was gonna go sign some stuff while you like set that up, I would just think that they were my lawyers too. You know, like you. So that makes sense to me. I like that line. And he looks at Mark and he says, "You had one friend," which was him. I also like that line. I thought that was powerful.
I thought that was good too.
It's like, you fucked up your one friend.
But apparently, he was dating Priscilla
But apparently...
at the time. So I think he had more than one friend.
He had more than one friend.
Yeah.
That also, I didn't even realize that. That, like, takes away the whole, like, one friend aspect of it.
That's probably why they didn't include her, because they wanted...
That's why they did it.
Mark Zuckerberg, he's like, they're like, he only has Eduardo. Eduardo's his only friend. He's his best friend. It's like, well, actually, he was dating a girl that's going to be his wife in the future.
But that wouldn't be as powerful in this movie, Tony, you see? But that's why they did it. So Mark tells Eduardo he has to come back later, probably, like, for the 1 million, whatever, joiners. I don't know what Facebook
1 million members.
And he was probably just planning to rub it in his face all along. That's why he told him, because as soon as he gets there, they tell him that the 34.4.
There was a scene earlier
I missed something.
because they hadn't got new investors yet, so I think he did want him to come to the party, and then he went and. Okay, I also got
I
confused
think he told
at what
him
case
that-
equity was.
Well, it's like
Okay.
the whole shares, Luke, is like he gets 34.4% of those shares, but he doesn't get them continuing from then on. So it doesn't
Right.
include new stock, right? But it's really like it's weird. What I was just saying was that like he tells Mark to come back later, but it tells Eduardo to come back at 1 million, but as soon as he gets there, he goes to the
He's gonna
lawyers.
go to the meeting. Yeah.
So I think it was just to rub it in his face.
Dang.
Yeah, but what about there's a scene before where here comes Sean Parker again, and he gets Mark Zuckerberg to be like in his pajamas and go up to like some like fake investor or like some investor, but they're like not actually planning to take him or whatever, and he's like, ask for Manningham and says Sean Parker says fuck you, and then it's like
Bad. That was bad.
it's like oh god, there's like no point in that except it like plays into Sean Parker manipulating Mark Zuckerberg more, and it's like this movie's just being like, guys, Mark Zuckerberg's an asshole during this process because of Sean Parker.
Yeah. I didn't like that.
So that scene is the reason why Eduardo gets screwed out of the company. It's because Manningham gets invested after they do that stunt, but I don't understand why he...
But they made him sign the agreement knowing what they were going to do beforehand. Before they went to that investor, Eduardo had already signed, meaning they knew that they weren't diluted. So, but you were saying earlier you thought he just wanted him to go to the party. I'm pretty sure this was all planned from the beginning, but it was Sean influencing him, which I'd rather just see Mark beat the villain.
Mark doing it, yeah.
So,
And it's also like after the scene he talks, and I really like the dialogue where he's like, how much is blank's shares diluted? How much is other people's shares diluted?
It
and
wasn't.
That's none.
Yeah.
And then none. And then
was
it was
good.
like,
I
how
liked
much was
that part.
yours? And then it was like diluted a lot. And then like he's like talking to Mark, and it's like a really emotional conversation. And I wish they just left Sean Parker out of it, because then he's like answering a lot, and then he's adding like, should I get security? Blah blah blah. That's supposed to be an
I
emotional
agree with that, but
dialogue between two people, but then Sean Parker, he's there and he's still adding to it, and it's like, again, it makes it feel like he's the one that's behind everything.
the Emperor, I told you. But it's also like, I really like that scene because they keep saying in this movie they're wired and don't mess with them, and no one ever messes with them.
Oh, he's
and he just
wired
takes
in.
the laptop and fucking smashes it, and you can
And-
tell that Andrew Garfield actually fucking smashed that laptop.
And
which I
Jesse
really
Eisenberg's face
Yeah,
when
I
it happened was
really
like, oh.
I thought that scene was really like powerful.
I really like
Very
that
good
scene
scene.
a lot.
Yeah, that
So-
one's like, holy fuck. And the whole dialogue between them was really good. You're right, every time that Sean Parker butted in, it kind of made it worse.
And then Mark
Yeah.
Zuckerberg talks to Sean Parker, like, you were kind of rough on him. You didn't have to be that rough on him.
But before that, I
Implying
did like
that Sean Parker was like
behind everything.
had a hand in it. Yeah.
I did like that Sean was being a douche when Eduardo was walking away, and he like raises up his fist and he cowers away, and I like that scene because Sean's a little bitch.
I do as well.
And
I
he
liked
says,
it,
"I like
yeah.
standing next to you. Makes me feel so powerful." Or is that what he
So
said?
tough.
So tough. I
I
like
will
that
say,
scene.
if
Yeah,
the
I like
security-
that line. Yeah.
I just said the security didn't do anything. He raised his
They
fist,
did
and the
not.
security was just like, all right, it's Sean Parker.
It's Sean Parker.
Let's
Let him do
Let me
it.
get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Now we go to the fraternity party where the cops.
Well, and
like,
it's also revealed that Sean is sleeping with interns.
Right.
Like with a intern who is it implied that she's underage or just really young?
Under 21.
But under 21
they just say
is,
under 21,
which is
So it's not-
weird
it's
because
just,
it's like is
so
it,
you don't know.
either way it's a
Right.
conflict of interest for the company. You can't sleep with your interns, obviously. But the
And
fact that they
he's-
kept saying she's not 20, like, but it's like, but if you said she wasn't 18, then we would understand that it's illegal. Like, it was weird.
But it's also weird because like if the music cuts out of a party, don't you think something's going on?
Well, they were doing drugs, so they. I
But
didn't.
also, it's so bad. They were doing drugs. He wipes the drugs from like the person's stomach or whatever, and then he doesn't like.
Stick it in your pocket.
Does he not, like, he wipes his hands and then the cops check it, but it's still on his hands?
It was a lot on his hands. It was a lot on his hands.
Don't understand, because he wiped
Dude,
it
like,
off of her, and then he
some
wiped his
residue.
hand still. He wiped his hand, though. How would there be that much on his hand after he wiped his hand?
Some residue, not the entire
Yeah,
powder.
there should have been like a little bit, like somewhere. Maybe if he like wiped it on his pants, you could see a little bit on his pants. Like that would have been a better way to do it than on his hand. And then it cuts back to Rashida Jones and Mark, and I can't remember her name.
Also, but like that scene is where Sean Parker gets like kicked out of Facebook or whatever. But then
Right.
it's like that scene just also exemplifies, Sean Parker's character is really one-dimensional. He's really one note. He's just like this weird party guy like the entire time. Okay, and then we get back to Rashida Jones.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I do like that Mark, while that's happening, you can tell he's upset about Eduardo and Sean, but the card says I'm CEO, bitch. Like, I like how he looks at it kind of sad, but it makes it strange that that the lawsuits come afterwards and he still acts like an asshole. You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's also just what we were saying, that they should have gone either way. Either he's very remorseful and realizes he did wrong, or he's an asshole the whole time, because he might seem remorseful, but we know that he's being a douche to the lawyers later in the lawsuits. He's saying he's doing the math for her. We already know he's still a douchebag, so don't give me that remorsefulness.
Don't make him so much
what?
of an
Yeah.
asshole later.
Yeah.
You know what is actually kind of weird is that I think his character development happens not chronologically with time, but with how the movie shows scenes.
Yes,
that's
you're
what it
right.
is.
In the
That's what it is.
beginning-
Very, very right.
In the beginning, he's asshole, but then they cut to like the future where he's in these legal battles and he's still asshole, and it'll like continue through the movie, and you're like flipping between the past and the future a bunch of times, and he's like getting a little bit more character development, but like the apex of it like is still like somewhere in the middle between those like two time periods.
It's to keep the pacing up too. Like the pacing is going with the character, but you're completely right that it doesn't actually make sense because he progresses as the movie goes along, even
As
in
the
both
scenes do.
Yes, as the
Because when he
scenes.
talks
As the
to
scenes do.
Delpy, I think was Rashida Jones's last name. Marilyn Delpy, I think was her name.
Okay.
He's nice to her, but that's because it's the end of
Yeah,
the
but
movie.
he was also a douchebag throughout the entire hearing. throughout
Correct.
The movies, if you think about it. So,
don't
anyway, he's asked if he could just sit there for a little bit, and that's where that line comes in. You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying so hard to be.
Gosh, I wish
Also, you don't know
she
that.
wasn't the one that delivered that. She barely
It could
knows
be
that.
Erica.
She sat in
I would have
into
liked
one.
Erica to say.
She sat into one meeting and then she says that.
But
and
wouldn't
it's
it
like
be
supposed to
great-
be this some
okay.
payoff. It's like supposed to be some payoff, but it comes from a person who only knows him from one court hearing and like knows nothing about the rest of the story. Like she wasn't there for like all the previous encounters. And so like it really means nothing, but like to the audience it's all supposed to be like, oh, some like quippy line that means a lot, and it just doesn't.
But if Erica was there, and she called him an asshole earlier, if she says that hits a lot harder. Where he's like,
Yeah.
that would have been
But-
perfect.
But Marky, how is she supposed to ask to be her friend on Facebook and keep refreshing at the end?
Yeah, I think you didn't need that because she's not a real person and he was already in a relationship, but whatever.
The last scene could be like he calls Erica or something. Like instead of him refreshing on
But if
Facebook.
she's at the hearing, it would have been good just to end it.
Well,
That
what I'm
line
saying
and then
is-
end. Cut to...
There's no way for Erica to be there because it's like she's not part of the lawsuit. So I understand why she's not there.
I get that. But
I would have. They could have
just
taken
have
that
him
liberty
talk to
though.
her.
That would have. Come on, yeah. All right, whatever.
and that's how they end the movie. He
Yeah,
just
he's
keeps
refreshing.
refreshing to see if she accepts his friend request.
I do like the
and
song
then
they
they
played.
add these. I do
Yeah.
too. But then they like add like these stupid lines, and it's like Eduardo Saverin received an unknown settlement. The Winklevoss received a $60 million settlement.
Very unsatisfying after we
they
watched
went
so
on
much.
the Olympics. Yeah, extremely unsatisfying.
Say it in the court hearing. We're settling on this. Like, say it to the movie so then we feel it, not just reading it.
I think ending movies
see.
with like lines of dialogue like this is just like such a old like what 70s or 80s type of thing, like Breakfast Club or whatever.
What I'm
type of
fine
thing?
with is doing that if it's like, okay, this is
Yeah.
where they ended at this point. 20 years later, this is what they're doing now. That's what I like, if it's a real person. saying what they settled on when we just had movies about them trying to sue him, like a whole movie about them trying to sue him, and then they don't say anything until like just text on the screen. I didn't like that very much.
That's the
I
movie.
didn't like that at all.
Yay!
Yay!
I didn't stick to my guns at all.
Okay, so one thing I did kind of like was that, that it ended with the last line, Mark Zuckerberg is the youngest billionaire in the world, because it makes you hate him even more. I kind of like it was just a bit last kind of fuck you, because it was like, then everyone's like, yeah, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
At the end, because they kind of make him remorseful, but then that last line's kind of like, yeah, fuck this guy. You know. All right, we got to do our ratings combined.
Well,
I didn't stick to my guns, so
nitpicks and hit picks. You got any nitpicks or hit picks?
All this bad stuff I said was nitpicks. I just had a lot of little ones that that brought this movie down. I think at the best, this movie is like an 8.5, but so many things that are like so much lower in the 7s and 6s, like little parts, bring it to what I had.
Stuff I did not know about or think of, like the true story behind it all.
Yeah, well, you know, you didn't do your research on your own movie. But...
Come on,
that's true.
So I don't have anything else.
I have one hit pick. When Erica Albright is talking to Jesse Eisenberg or Mark Zuckerberg, and it's like she's like, "Good luck with your video game." When he tells her about Facebook.
That was a big. That was a good fuck you.
That one. Let's see. In real life, Mark Zuckerberg is quoted with saying this: "If you ever need info about anyone at Harvard, just ask. I have over 4,000 emails, pictures, addresses. I don't know why they trust me, dumb fucks."
What the fuck?
Yeah. So the movie is trying to portray him like that. they just
do it in
make up stuff
that wasn't real.
Just make up stuff for that.
Anything else, Tony?
Dating Zuckerberg is like dating a stairmaster. Apparently, a quote.
That was a good one. I like that line.
I didn't like that one. That was
really?
like, eh.
Why? Because it's like an uphill climb, but you never get anywhere. I like that one.
I liked it.
It's better to be accused of necrophilia than animal cruelty.
That was horrible. That one was
Another
bad.
Jab at animal activists.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Yeah.
It's like saying that animal activists like want to take your head off more for animal cruelty than like being being a necrophiliac.
Bad.
That's just fucking dumb. Like it's like for sure it adds to them just like that just makes it like convinces me that it's a jab towards animal activists
even more because than they did before.
Already is like that did that not show up in the Crimson article, but then you add that line to it too.
Yeah.
I would have liked an answer to if Mark was jealous because he got in the Phoenix, and did he make the chicken article? I think if you take liberties,
liked that. But if he never, wait, I was gonna say unless in real life he never admitted it, but it's not a real thing anyway. So
it's not a real thing.
Right.
Yeah, they should have added that. Anything else?
That's it.
Luke,
those were
nitpicks?
my nitpicks with one hit pick and all nitpicks.
One hit pick.
Did either of you? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Tony, have you changed your rating at all?
I really wanted to go lower, but I think because of the technical aspects of the movie, I'll stay at a 5.
I'm sticking my guns.
Very average.
I'm sticking my guns at a 7.8. Luke, you sticking?
Not an 8.7.
Oh, Luke, you gotta.
I feel like that's too high.
Pressure. Okay,
it's peer pressure.
It's not peer pressure because
I don't feel
are listening.
Morally right.
Okay, you're listening to.
If we just bashed on it this much.
Well, he was being open-minded. About
and now he has a low rating. Let's hear your updated.
Let's hear your rating. Updated rating.
After it all, it's probably. I will still put it at like an 8.15.
Okay, that's fair. 8.15. Okay, so combined.
So, Mark, that thing about you and Luke scores being different,
I know,
not very much.
But at least I stick to my guns. So 7.8, 8.15 plus Tony's 5. Divide by 3, it's a 6.98. Almost a 7. It is a okay movie with a lot of issues. That's... You know?
I thought Luke was crazy for rating it the same as Soul.
But now he opened his mind and understand what's wrong with it. So
correct.
So, Luke, I have a question.
What is your joke this time?
Are you ready for the hint section? I don't want to get made fun of again.
Am.
I don't want to get made fun of for a bad one again. All right, Tony, let's hear the hints.
In theme with this movie,
Yeah.
The first hint is courtroom legal battle.
Oh, okay.
A Few Good Men.
No.
My Cousin Vinny.
No.
Damn.
My second hint is grand larceny.
Okay. Courtroom battle for grand larceny. Oh, gosh, dang it. I can't remember. This isn't it. The Italian Job. That's not
No,
it.
good one.
no,
12 Angry Men.
no.
Please. Oh.
My third hint is creepy relationship.
It's Star Wars, Luke. It's the prequels.
It's the prequels. Courtroom battle.
A courtroom legal battle about grand larceny.
Grand larceny. Creepy relationship.
This is hard.
Jeez. Oh.
I'm gonna say The Judge. It's the only other courtroom one.
The Judge?
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
No,
a courtroom one. I don't know. It's not Trial of Chicago 7. I was just thinking of courtroom ones.
Okay, my fourth hint is 2007.
Ooh. Hot Rod.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That's a 2007 movie, boy.
Yes, because there's a courtroom legal battle in grand larceny in Hot Rod. But the creepy relationship is there.
Hey, so you take it back. Actually, there is. Will Arnett is in that movie.
Yeah.
Will Arnett, Blades of Glory. That's my
Ooh, good
thing.
one.
All right, this fifth hint will unveil it all.
Ooh.
Cannot think.
What is the deal with airplane food?
Is that Seinfeld?
John.
What?
No.
Who is that?
Uh-huh.
It's Seinfeld.
Oh my gosh, it's B movie.
Yes, it
Oh,
no,
yes.
you're right.
Yes.
I forgot about the courtroom here. Okay, so I got the Seinfeld right. I thought I was going crazy. Oh no, B movie.
It is 2007's The B movie.
The B movie. Oh, that's a good one, Tony. Good one.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
wait. We forgot. Did you fall asleep during Social Network?
I wanted to. I promise I
You
wanted
wanted
to.
to.
I did not.
Alright.
I did take a break like some way through.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so next week we're going to be doing the B movie. Good pick, Tony. If you want
Very
to
good
watch
pick.
along with us, we will be doing that next week. Make sure if you want to keep up with us, you're subscribed. And Luke, you want to roll us out?
And that was tonight's watch.
Goodbye.
Bye.